All right, well, welcome. You'll see just one small, and it's not a, it's just a time change. I asked the county clerk to do the county personnel and public comment at 8:15 versus 8:10. Seemed like we started 8:10 with the flag salute and the invocation. We're already behind, so I asked her to do that and she did, so thank you. Welcome to the meeting and happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. This is my boy's favorite holiday. If they were here and you weren't wearing green, you're in big, big trouble. So we'll just go ahead and jump right in then and say it's close enough here. Is there any county personnel or public comment here? Maybe want to speak?
Yes, I actually.
Come on up.
Um, I'm here on behalf of the IT department. I've been looking into ways to save the county money. And, one thing we're doing is actually the streaming here. We're paying about $5,500 a year for the Civic Plus, or sorry, CP Media streaming platform. And, I believe we could get the same quality out of, streaming to YouTube. And that would be cost free. So I wanted to bring that to you guys and see how you felt about that.
Say 5,500. And then we'll lose all of our setup for we would lose all of this for our meetings.
No, that would still be there. The only thing that would be affected is instead of people clicking into the portal on our website, they would just click a link that I put on the same page. It would take them to the YouTube site.
I'm probably gonna get rid of that civic clerk, they come with $7,500 here for that. It goes like a share one.
Two different sides of the same package.
But the YouTube we stream nonprofit I'm involved with. Yeah, it's really good quality. No costs.
I believe that would be a fairly simple way we could save a bit of money and help out with the budget.
Sure. The commissioner we met at that January conference for the Association of Counties, they were on YouTube. Had a great band. So, yeah, sounds wonderful.
I don't know if we need a motion or anything like that.
I think it's something it's just information for the commission, but I think it's something your department.
That's great.
All right.
You come up with something like that once a month. All right.
I'll do my best.
All right. Perfect.
So if you do that, then this will effectively, we'll have our meetings recorded that we'll be able to review here then.
Correct, but basically on our streaming page on our website, like where you would put it on the portal, we have a set of instructions at the top, and I could just put a link to YouTube right there in the instructions. And you and everybody else would be able to access them on our YouTube page.
I just thought, like I can pull up any meeting I want to look at right now off of
Okay.
this very quick and easy. I just, our agendas and minutes are all here from all of our meetings. This is,
Will it go away or will it just be in a different form?
we don't go backwards and have to go back to where we didn't have all of our stuff. until Monday morning. Used to never be seeing.
So help me out. We'll start from the beginning. You are saying we're going, instead of streaming the way we are now, you want to go to YouTube. And so that'll save us $5,500 a year.
Correct.
All right. So that's separate than this.
It
But
is.
then you're saying the Civic Plus, we want to go away from that and go to something similar or something. That, so the app's gone, but to Mr. Lincool's point, will we have the ability to go back and look at the old?
But it'd be like Dropbox,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
my office.
Very
does, yeah.
good.
So you can populate it just by, just like you have now, you could have a file folder that would be 310.25, and then within that file folder, I see you have all that. You could probably fit a link in there once we start with YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, the old though video from what you're doing now would be, once we stop contracting with them, with that license. Terminate the ability to look back at old.
That would terminate that ability, but we've saved the recordings, so we would just need to, oh, we could perhaps upload those to YouTube as well, so they're all in one place.
Okay,
Would our old meeting agendas, would they transfer over to the new?
Yes, all those
All
could
that
be taken over to the SharePoint.
So he can reach back and we can see it. Okay.
It would just be a different way of doing things, but the information would be the same.
All right. Well, we're trainable, so.
We still want to go backwards compared to what we used to, because
Sure.
we used to show up there on Monday morning and we did nothing. Or any of our papers. And so we had to read everything so that we can read on earlier. We had to read Monday morning and make a decision within a few minutes.
We're not talking about paper.
That won't
bags
happen.
for sure.
Okay. No, this sounds great though. That's pretty easy way to save some money. Nice job.
Right, thank you, John.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there he set the bar really high. Is there any other county personnel or public comment?
Briefly gave a summary of what we did in 2024 for my department,
Okay.
and you look at it, and ask some questions. As kind of like the cost and how many participants at the senior center, the meals and the taxi, kind of generalized. The senior center is only open on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So yeah, I think we have a good count there. Think on the meals, you can see what the full cost was, what the county paid, and what the participants paid.
So when it says the taxi, is that the white van?
No.
This is, that's different.
Yes, we
Okay.
have two vans, one in Walton and one in Hiawatha.
Okay.
And there's no charge for the riders, so you, but they will donate sometimes, to the drivers.
All right.
We have what they call South Brown County and North Brown County, but we only stay in the county.
Mhm.
Where every agency does, with a St. Joe, Topeka, and they do charge.
Okay.
But ours is just county taxes, and so we just stay in Brown County.
Okay. Any questions?
Let's, or here. Look through this a little bit.
Okay,
This is what the total cost.
that's what the total cost is at $7.
Right,
This is the same amount times $3, that's what the participants pay. And that's what.
so they didn't pay quite it. They were $1,000 short.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly, they were short. And, but then with donations that was given to us, it put us back in the pocket.
Okay.
And then this is what the county paid. Uh-huh.
Well, anything else we should know?
Did you have any questions?
So we list like the senior center here in Hiawatha. What about the one in Horton?
Okay, the only thing we do for Horton, because they wanted to break away from the county,
Okay,
is that we pay their insurance, once a year.
okay,
Where Hiawatha, we pay the rent and the utilities and our director down.
so you pay the insurance on the building? Is that what you meant?
Yes, for the
Okay.
Horton. huh?
Okay.
The only that-
They do. Shoot, we didn't want to do. Who owns the Horton building? I think the seniors own it.
Okay,
I
so,
should say we do also pay their trash. I'm sorry, we also pay their trash and their phone.
okay, so what, you're the coordinator. Is that the right term? For the-
Director.
Director, I'm sorry, director. So this is your yearly report, like right now in the year, what are you doing? And,
Well, what do I do every day?
well, yeah,
Oh.
just give me a brief synopsis of your year, like you're in March now,
Phone
what's
calls
happening?
for
Phone
all the
calls?
Taxi riders,
Uh-huh.
it goes through me,
Okay,
and then I call them and set up their times. And,
Okay.
you know, you need to pick up so and so at this time.
okay,
The money that comes in from the meals. We get to keep track of that, it's in the treasurer's office.
okay,
And who cares? Phone calls, when people want it in or off, or on or off the meals.
Mhm.
We gotta generate a whole new sheet, a new sheet for our drivers who.
Okay.
We do have an extra person that drives to deliver meals.
Uh-huh.
Besides the two taxi drivers, we have an extra person there. We service right now Horton, Everest, Morrill, Powhatan, Willis, Robinson. Down on there. Fairview is where they're going right now, all over county.
all right. And so that's daily, 5 days a week, or
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
When the courthouse is closed. we don't do the window.
You don't do meals, okay.
Or the weather is too bad. I have to call.
You make your own call on that, all right,
Well, we got to the point, I thought the easiest way is when both the schools close.
Sure.
Cause my drivers have to get out and deliver these.
Sure.
meals and
No,
get
that's fine.
home, So
that's fine,
that's why. Start determining when I close.
okay. So and on the meal thing, I'd asked you last week, I think, how does that work? But I see there's the $7 total, the participants pay 3, the county pays 4.
Uh-huh.
How does this meal, is there like a contract period? Is there a time when you reevaluate the cost?
Yearly.
Yearly, okay,
I think last year was around October.
Oh, it's in the
November,
fall.
date of
Okay.
that.
okay. All right,
One, that it's a professional service that we can continue with who we are without making any changes. We made that, changes last year about. It become. Bidding it with something every year, if we're happy with the service, we can continue
Oh,
with the service.
yes.
too.
okay,
That is good.
all right. And if people, that the group is delivering meals to, if they have any questions or comments or complaints, they all go through you.
Mhm.
All right, okay,
I get notes in the mail and everything, I pass on to the cook,
okay, right on.
good or bad.
We do about 38 meals a day.
Right now, we're up close to 50. Mhm. And that was last year's. How many meals we served?
For 260 days, 5 days a week. So, last year we spent about.
Yeah. And it differs almost every day. I have people, because sometimes they have to call me and say, hey, I'm not gonna come, don't give me a. Or someone has passed away, or a number of things why we lose people, or even other people, the word of mouth is going on the program. And it has to be 60 and over. That's for our taxi and our meals.
All right. Any other questions?
On I know we just have our taxi in town. Is there ever a way that we want a lot of the people go to either Topeka or St. Joe for doctors visits and I know that's where the other taxi service goes along with that, anything that we'd ever want to open up. Charge for.
That'd be up to you.
I'm just talking out loud here.
Yeah,
I know.
right now I'm in a bind because we used to have morning, how the taxi would be from 8 to 10 and 1 to 4:30. If I remember correctly. So we had to do away with their mornings because they're now helping get the meals out. They're how well the taxi driver is. So he starts in about 11:30, meets up with Mary who comes out of the south. Gets his medicine dealer from Hiawatha area. More, I know, goes out towards Robinson, where Mary goes up from Everest. Up to Portland, Willis, Powhatan, then she heads over to Fairview, Morrow. And back up, meet with this driver, so. Right now, I'm just kind of. A lot of people wants rides and I'll sometimes put it on the one driver if he's not busy, but he's usually got riders either 2 or 3 people in the morning or in the afternoon. Depending, what they have to do, because a lot of times you've got to bring them up to Hiawatha. So I'm just kind of limited on the timing of when I can. Have my drivers go in place. It's like Larry, he can't go to St. Joe at 1 o'clock and be back by 3 o'clock. Because he works from 8:30 to 11:30. So if he leaves at 8:30, but picks up someone, it's kind of hard for him to drive all the way to Topeka and get back by 11:30. Because they're only limited to 5 hours a day. It's we're all part-time.
They don't have taxi service. How long in the morning?
That's to keep their 5 hours, they go in that 11:30, work till 4:30. So around the noon hour, we're delivering meals, and right after that, I have them scheduled for riders.
Yeah.
I wish I could give them back their mornings. But I don't have the money to hire another person to help deliver meals.
So the churches used to go to the mail.
The church is important, delivers right in hand. Everybody outside of the town city limits, we do. I sent letters a year ago to every single church here in Hiawatha. And I think they're already drained what they're doing to help, the community. So nobody really came back with me. Rich did with his church. They're super long with, commodities on us and they hand out. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one person and say, hey, can you make deliveries all this one whole week? Right now I don't have volunteers like that. I reached out, but I need somebody dependable too. Sometimes people say, well, I like to do the meals, but I can only do it this day or this day, or I can't do that. I got to have someone.
Sure. Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for
thank
coming in.
you.
Have a great day.
You too. I got my meeting.
All right, you're safe. Okay, we have an 8:30. With, is it Gaddis? Gades? Gades, all right. Well, you just come on in.
Hey, good morning.
Morning,
My name's Nick Soto.
Bill.
Bill,
Lucas.
Lucas. Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Rich.
Rich, nice to meet you. All right, so yeah, my name is Nick Soto. Kind of see. I'm with Gady Sales, so just kind of a little bit about ourselves as a company. We specialize in mostly traffic signal and traffic safety equipment. So like signalized intersections like you'll see out here on like 6th and Iowa. Oregon is the other street. So those are things that I've helped like the city with. That's usually the realm that our company operates in. We also do other things in traffic as well. So, as a county organization, I kind of propose this as something that you guys might be interested in, to get data collection counts for road paving and reclaim projects. So you actually know how many vehicles are out there driving your roadways and the classifications for how much they're actually tearing up your roadways. Are you seeing significant higher volumes of truck or ag traffic on these roads that need different compaction, stuff like that? So I've talked to Tammy a little bit about kind of the operations of how you guys get that stuff. Under kind of my understanding, you might use pneumatic tube counters, the long rubber tubes that go across the highway, right? Well, as a county organization, those kind of sever across dirt roads, not really easy to kind of put up and have them stay put. So plain and simple, that's what this is supposed to replace. This is called the Armadillo Tracker from Houston Radar. So this little device, this is a demo unit, it's clear, but it is just a little 3-pound device and it runs off of radar. So this little device right here, this white and gold square, that's actually the radar unit itself. So right here is where you'll actually turn on the unit. It'll beep once if it's over 30% battery, so you know that it's good to deploy out in the field. If it's under 30%, it'll beep twice. It's a point and shoot solution, so theoretically anyone in the county organization could put this up wherever you guys need to collect data. So as soon as you turn this on, as long as it's anywhere within 12 feet of the roadway, you're just going to point it directly towards traffic like so, 6 to 12 feet high. Turn it on. And it has a Bluetooth chip in there as well, so you can see it on your phone for extra verification. Any car that it's going to count for the first 5 minutes of its operation, it's actually going to beep at. So you know that you're actually getting data collected. Within that app, you can actually do a one press solution where, say you go out there and Bill needs to take this unit down. He's going to gather the data and send it to somewhere here in the warehouse. So it gets on his app, press of a button, it's going to gather the data, clear the unit, and you're going to be able to send all of that in one go, and then he's not going to have to worry about anything in the field except putting this back up. 14-day battery runtime. You can put a solar panel on it. You can add another battery if you want to as well. And then this is all it comes with. It's you just install it by some quick zip bands. It has different connections, so you can gather your data, like I said, via Bluetooth or USB. You can plug it into your computer. You can charge it in your vehicle whenever you're going to and from deployments. Also, it'll charge on your computer as well as a wall charger too. But yeah, do you guys have any questions?
So the cipher between cars, semis, and what the traffic is going by, so how many, so we know we have X amount of semis on this road during the day.
Excellent. So yeah, that's a good question. So this runs off of a low voltage battery, right? So to get the classification that you're talking about, it has 3 FHWA classifications. So it is going to be anything under 14 feet. It's going to be classified as a small object. So that's going to be bikes, motorcycles, even little smart cars, anything that's under 14. So I think that's FHWA class 1. And then after that, it's going to go 14 to 20 feet. Those are going to be sedans to minivans, even pickup trucks. Anything above 20 feet, that's going to be anything pulling the trailer, like some of your ag equipment and then semis and stuff like that. So you're not going to get necessarily granular, like this was a tractor versus semi, but you're going to be able to tell it was a large vehicle. You'll also be able to get your speed accuracy off of this too. So its speed accuracy is within 0.4%. So you'll be able to kind of tell some of those larger vehicles that are going maybe like 30 miles per hour are
tractor versus a semi that's
So
going
it'll
60.
record the speed too.
Hmm?
It will record the speed.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Within, so you can get a bunch of different charts, so this unit actually comes with the software as well. So, yeah, you're getting your data and everything, but how are you gonna actually make that meaningful? So it comes with the stats analyzer software that you'll actually be able to put on your computer. There's, I believe, over 30 different graphs and charts that you can actually display, send out to whoever. And then also be able to analyze that data throughout the years to kind of see how your traffic has changed. So, and then this unit as well, I think holds up to 315,000 pounds before it's full. So you're gonna get quite a lot of memory off of this. Like I said, it'll run 14 days without having to be recharged or anything like that.
So you said you pointed at traffic.
Mhm.
So does it check both directions? Traffic comes in both directions.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So this unit is specifically for mostly bi-directional traffic on smaller roadways. So that we have another one that's called a Speed Lane Pro, and it essentially has two radars and it's in a tube. Those are what KDOT would be more interested because it's going to shoot perpendicular to the roadway. As to where this one's going to be more side pole mounted. So that's why, like, as a county organization, you're probably going to have mostly 2-lane bi-directional travel. So you put this on the roadway on a pole, just facing towards your traffic. This unit has the ability to get 1 lane incoming, outgoing, 2 incoming or 2 outgoing on side mounted installations. And mounted in the median, say on like a street light luminaire pole, something like that, you can actually get 2 incoming and 2 outgoing. So those are the ways that you would get data for this one. Anything larger than that, you're not going to get correct data.
What's the, I guess a unit like that, how long is it gonna last? What's the lifespan on something like that?
Overall lifespan, I mean, as long as you're not throwing this around or anything like that, there really shouldn't be a cause this is gonna last you well. This is all factory sealed and everything too. Obviously, it's not gonna come clear. This is a display model. But the good thing about these connections too is they're on the bottom. So any of that water is going to not get into here. This is also NEMA rated as well too. So, and it's Build America, Buy America compliant. They're based in Houston, Texas, and all of their manufacturing is out of Houston, Sugar Land, and the Dallas, Texas area.
Does the app or the software, is that a yearly subscription fee or is
No.
it part of it?
No, so standard, this comes Bluetooth capable via like Android devices. If you do have iOS devices, which is Apple, let us know and they will manufacture the chip in for that connectivity because those are 2 different communication protocols. Now there is an option, excuse me, where you could do GPS caching. So whenever this unit is deployed, as soon as you turn it on, it's going to cache the GPS location. You're not going to have to go in the app, but it was on this road at this intersection, whatever. It'll cache it. Then and there, you're good to go. You can also do a modem built into this where you would actually be able to get your counts, your speeds, all of that in real time at really anywhere that you can connect to your account. You'll actually be able to see where it's deployed in real time as well with the GPS and get GPS cache availability for that too. Where that would come in, where more customers are using kind of the Pentaband modem, where you would need to have that subscription for your cellular service, is if they're doing incident management. So say this is going to be on a 2 incoming, 2 outgoing type lane, and they just want to see, okay, if I start getting high volumes and my speeds are getting low in those high volumes, I probably know that there's an incident farther up the road. So that's where that Pentaband wireless modem company can use if you're doing communication, stuff like that. But if you're just getting counts and stuff, there's really no need for it.
When do we get our road counts? But those are usually one time a year. They don't do it every year, but
Yeah.
you know, and it varies. What time of year you take those road counts, if harvest is going on and so forth. It's kind of a unique thing to be able to have, but
Yeah, I mean, and this thing goes up super quick. So a little bit of background about myself is that I'm very familiar with putting out those tube counters as well. So I was a signal technician at Overland Park for a few years, and that was one of our duties was to put out those tube counters. So I kind of know the pain that it is. And oddly enough, they do these solutions as well.
I got one question. So easy to install and put up, it's also easy to
Yeah.
take down and steal. We got a Jeep, can we track where that goes if somebody wipes it?
Yes and no. So it's not gonna be in the way like your cell phone operates, where it's always doing a GPS signal. So it's using a low data protocol. It's not gonna be a 5G system, that's right? Now, say you check on that unit, you need to go pick it up. All of a sudden it's gone. If you do have the capability to communicate to this wirelessly, you could find where it's at if you cycle the power remote. So as soon as you turn this unit off and then turn it back on, whoever does have it in their possession, they're gonna hear that tone go off, that beep. Now the caveat to that is you do only have a 14-day battery to it as well. So if you leave it out there for 14 days and it gets stolen on the 14th night, or you know, whenever the battery does run out and you try to remotely power cycle, it's not.
Question.
But yeah, that is a good question.
Is there protocol? I mean, you're putting on hose clamps, stainless steel hose clamps. Is
Yeah.
there a way to make it more secure? Can you run a chain? Can you do anything
You
through
could
it?
definitely put like a chain through here, so
That's
I'm
what
gonna
it's
have to be
for.
like a smaller chain, but you can definitely make it where it's harder to get.
So if you worked with those and you say Olathe or you over?
Overland Park, I
Overland
didn't use
Park?
these in Overland
Okay.
Park, but I used the tube counters.
All right, does that
They
stuff,
they move
does
forward
it-
to this, because this is exactly, this unit is supposed to replace those.
all right,
Small form factor, easily deployable, way less time, way more safe. Your guys aren't having to play frog across the roadways. So you're staying on the side of the roadway the whole time unless you're putting this on a median installation. So, and even if you're going up high, it has this quick mount right here too, so you can actually point it.
when you do a road count, how many of those tubes do you lay across? Do you go like 3 miles to go? A certain, I mean, how many of those units would you need to do a road count on a section of, say a section of blacktop?
It really depends. So like when I installed tube counters.
Yeah.
How we did it was, it's mostly. How we used it was to mostly verify that signals still were born. So we needed to have roadway counts to make sure that that signal still needed to be in the city. Because sometimes there are parts of the city, developments happen, and that signal just doesn't need to be operational anymore.
All right.
It's costing you more money. So also a lot of them were for just traffic. So the streets department knew road overlay. Now with tube counters, we would put those usually across 2 directions minimum, or 2 lanes minimum, up to 3. And then you would have to do that because of left turns. The problem with that is you're doing that twice for 1 tube counter, because 1 tube is getting air incoming and the other one out. So you're having to run 2 of those tubes out, hope that a nail stays on the roadway, and then find a place to chain that counter somewhere on the median or to a tree, to something, and then hope that that stays. So you're checking those every single day. With these, you can check them every single day, but you don't have to get into the box itself.
Sure.
You can do it remotely as well.
All right.
But you have to do that 4 times, that whole process 4 times. So with this, you could do it 4 times if you wanted to do all of your intersection at once. Just put one of these up on the side and you're good. You have essentially 2 units at a four-way intersection for mostly intersections that you're gonna find in the county, right? One oncoming, one outgoing. So at a 4-way, you could have this, just on one of your north or south legs and then one on your east-west, because it's gonna get oncoming and outgoing. So,
Well, my question, I think it was poorly stated, was like, just, we talked about Goldfinch Road last week. So you got 270th to 36 highway. Do you lay one of these in at every intersection? Or do you just do like all in all, like on the major
I don't
intersections?
know that I would do that.
Okay.
Now coming off of a highway going to a county road is what you're looking at, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, what you would probably do is, put them farther down because this has to track vehicles also for a minimum of 100. So you're not gonna put this on a stop sign because you don't want the vehicle to stop. It has to track it for a
Okay.
minimum of 100. But you would want to put them farther downstream, so you're getting those vehicle counts coming off of the highway. Are they going north, south, or are they going west? Wherever you're deploying it?
Oh,
You don't necessarily need to have it on the state highway.
okay. Well,
But we had 2 of those units, once you go, that's good for easy, if we had one. Where we're getting off the highway, and then we have 270th and 290th, which are 2 other major roads that travel west off of that. We could put one between 290th and 270th to find out how much traffic is staying north or how much is
Yeah.
turning off at 270th. So
absolutely.
two of them could do that or it would track and say, okay, most of our volume starting going west
Yeah,
comes up north. or
Absolutely.
We're going straight. I'm just talking with.
So if you were wanting to do that. You've got experience. If you use the same machine and do it different days, how accurate would that be? I mean, if like if you did it on Wednesday, and we support it, I know it was you all export it. How well your counts be?
well, your counts are gonna be off based on volume alone for vehicle traffic. Like now, if you're talking like accuracy of like how this is actually detecting it, this is gonna be within 99 to 97% accuracy.
I guess what I'm wondering about is, because you don't have to buy too many units. I mean, one price, do it all. Same.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is though, so that's kind of an interesting question because that's all going to be based on a lot of variables. Because if you do roadway counts, you know that during school sessions, your volumes are different at certain times. So
That's what I'm gonna ask, you, how
Yeah.
much variation is there?
well, with that software, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to take all of that and analyze it. So any times that you deploy these, even if you want to put one of these out there for 24/7, 365, all it does is count. And you guys just go out there and Bluetooth in and sends your data. You can do that. This will run off of a 5-watt solar panel. And it'll be out there pretty much in perpetuity. But if you want to get all the basic GPS and stuff like that, you can do it remotely. You can go from 10 to a 30-watt. But that's how you're going to really see that difference in accuracy, what you're trying to talk about. It's not really accuracy, but it'd be more volume. So you're gonna see, okay, well, this Wednesday varies on this Wednesday, but then through months, through years, you're gonna see all of that. That's gonna be the big change that you guys use. As well as how your maintenance operations are on the roadways for what out of this too.
I guess my question was, do you need more than one of those?
It's really however you see fit, as an organization. I mean, do you think that you're going to need more than one? If you think that you're going to be able to get enough data out of a 14-day count or a 7-day count, however long you think you're going to use it, wherever you're going to put it, it's up to you. It's how you're going to use it, how you think best fit. Now, if you want to get a lot of data really quick, then yeah, you're probably gonna want to go with more than one. But if you're saying, hey, I just want one guy to kind of do this as a summer job, is when we're gonna collect all our counts, this is gonna be a morning duty or an afternoon duty, Monday, Friday, I want you to go do it. Do that, just one. So,
Yeah. It's fascinating. So you came here to us to demonstrate or look, show us this product.
yeah,
The service guy, or the road foreman is what I'm thinking. Do they? I mean, do they know about things like this? Is there literature we can give them to see if there's a need? for
yeah, I
that?
can definitely email, you, anyone in your organization, the literature on it. I did want to make sure that I did have this for you guys today. Our company actually did just get the demo, so I could bring it in to you guys. So glad that it did arrive in time, but yeah, I can definitely send you guys any information. And with that being said too, you guys do go ahead with ever purchasing this equipment, anything our company does. We also do offer training to. When you do buy the product, our training does come with it. I'm based locally out of Kansas City, so you guys are an hour and a half drive away. I also do have another tech who works with me. Oddly enough, his name is Nick. So if you call someone in our organization, Nick, someone's Nick. Yeah, not confusing at all.
Okay. Will your literature have a price sheet and everything?
I can definitely send you a quote on that if you'd like. I would kind of need to know a little bit more finer details on if you wanted a solar panel, if you wanted the Apple or GPS. Those are kind of additional things that are gonna be added onto there. If you didn't want any of this stuff, if it came without pretty much this solar port, you didn't ever think that you're gonna put this on a solar panel, one of these units is around 30. And that comes with everything that's in this case. You get the bands, the wall charger, the car charger. This cable has a few different adapters, so you can do up to serial or USB. And then all of them are standard Bluetooth, right out of the box. Android.
Okay. And unless you put the modem in there, there's no monthly charge.
Yeah, there's no monthly charge, even for whenever you guys use the software too. Whenever you collect that data is yours. That software is yours. You're not paying an annual fee for it. The only annual fee that you would use is either the GPS or it went with like the modem.
And so to get the data out of there, I mean, is that thing, was it Bluetooth? You just walk up to it and it melts
Yeah.
to your phone? Okay.
Yeah. It'll probably show you some weird stuff because it's not at the mounting height, then it's gonna bounce off of everything. That's telling you that it's over 30% battery, right? This is a free app too. So it's opening right now. So once it finds the device, you just click it. I renamed it. From here, you can rename your guys' unit, so you can put county organization unit 1. So this is just everything that you're gonna see. So if you wanted to see your live data, say you install this out in the field and you're getting tones that it's counting, within that 5 minutes, but you really want to make sure, you can go to live data and I'll show you your incoming and outgoing counts. Through here, you can also configure it, how it's counting. As you can see there, see it's bouncing off. You have all these road speeds too. So there's 24 little different radar detectors in there, but that's way too close. So here it's kind of demonstrating like a count.
Okay.
And then your speed. So in a real life scenario, each time it beeps, it's going to give you a count and it'll tell you the speed. And then from there, this is where you would do that one button operation and it'll send everything.
Okay. Any more questions?
So you should, if it's there, you should be able to track the speed. I live in cars that go by.
Absolutely, yeah.
You want 55, it's.
Yeah, so,
Tells you how many you're going 70 or whatever.
that's another thing that might be helpful for you as a county organization too, is the speed. Because if you see that on this road, it's a very large, semi-traveled road, it has a lot of commerce on it. And it's supposed to be 60 and you see that everybody is going 75 and 80 on those large trucks, that's probably doing a lot of damage. So, but then also you can take that data and address it to, you know, the sheriff or patrolling or something like that as well. But, you know, whatever you want to do with that data, there is a lot you can do.
That's a big brother question.
We do have stuff that is for specifically that too. That's not what this is basically for, but we do have license plate readers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're just 4 minutes left here. Do you have any more questions?
Have any cards or?
Yeah.
Yeah, the literature would be great. If you
Okay,
could send
yeah.
it- Send
I
it
will,
and then I'll talk to road foreman, see what he says about it.
Yeah, excellent.
Go From there,
And then, do you want me to just send that stuff to Tammy for review?
please,
Okay.
please.
Awesome.
Is that
I
all
will
right?
do.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Thank you very much. Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
your
for coming
time.
in.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Right.
Thank you.
Look for, felony docket, Nash, I didn't see anything. Yeah. You guys have anything before I have?
9:30. Good meeting.
Okay, we have received the, modifications for the ad and the contract from, was it Forrest, I believe, that did that, or his, oh, yeah, Maura, the Chambers. So, anyway, from K-Camp and from their attorney, from their perspective, so, those are all acceptable. There were some real specific things that they had on that, so I think we have a working contract and notice, back from them, so I'm good on that.
Because I have
What's that?
contract with him.
Oh, on that, solid waste for the haulers.
Oh,
He was looking at that in April, so yeah, I think all that's in order, from them. We got all of that back.
I don't know if he's gonna be bringing up anything about our dumping up in my area or not. That we needed to talk to you about.
Well, I mean, it's under investigation, so, and then the state has asked, yeah, I'd rather not have it in a public forum, but. So if he brings that, I mean, I've seen his report Saturday
Okay.
that they sent up, and, I think something was issued on that, and then the state, environmental has also become involved and sent a notice violation, so it's been taken care of as far as that's concerned, but,
I'll just let them know what happened. But not the particular.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, complaint made is investigated by sheriff's office and by, KDHE. Notice of violation sent out, from KDHE, and then also from, sheriff's office. And, there was further investigation Saturday or something, so yeah. And the only other thing was the, NEKDS complaint. That was information only. I think on there, she said they were bringing it to my office's attention, but when I asked what they wanted us to do, it's not necessarily a. We don't have like the cities do with the nuisance abatement and things like that through a code. Ask what they want to do right now. They said just information only. They're hoping people look at it. So I think that'll come up later, just as information. So.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Right, well, we are running a minute ahead of schedule, but
You got the redneck Christian Scott today. I hope that's okay.
that's all right. That's all right. We'll take,
I'm not high on. How you all doing?
we're fine. Good to
I
see
think
you.
you all got cars, don't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm going back to, Landall and, looking for a dump trailer. So.
Oh,
Okay. Here's. Just kind of go through this. I'm not sure all what you want, but this kind of gives you a foundation of kind of what we can talk about. It says Ottawa County, but it's just what her and I worked out on there, so I was gonna show you how we kind of go through things. Okay, on the front, I think that's something Nick and I talked about is the calendar, and that's something I think it's Lucas, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas and I talked about is kind of laying out a calendar. This is Ottawa County that we just worked on last week. So we need to come up, what we need to come up with in probably the next week or so are dates when we show up. Okay. So that first one, like they were going to do it in May, but they decided to do it in the middle of April, Ottawa County. So we can kind of, that would be one where you would have to actually probably get with all the department heads and make sure they're going to be there. Because that's kind of hard, you send, I guess, an email out or something and try to get a date that works for everybody.
All right.
And my calendar right now is fairly open. So if you want to do it in April, that'd be great. If you want to wait till May, that's great also. Okay. The next line there, department head presentation. So this is about probably a 4 to 5 hour meeting with the department heads and the commission. And what we do is we have each department head come in and make their presentation of what they are looking at for their department. Okay. And so the reason that's an incredible learning experience, that 4 to 5 hours is awesome because they'll ask questions, they'll tell you kind of what they're thinking. And then I'm there too. And so I ask questions, and by the time we get done, we have a pretty good idea of where their budget's at, what their increases are, and maybe any unique situations they might have, like equipment or anything like that. Okay. She says 9 to 5 here. She just put down the whole day, but it's usually, I usually start in the morning. It's usually not a day of commission meetings. So I know you're a farmer. You're a farmer, aren't you? So there may be, that may be the earlier might be the better. Is that what you would tell me? I think on the phone, maybe.
Really not from the farming side, just from trying to get started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the further we get into the summer, it gets busier for you or not?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
It's always been.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that, but I'll make the time. How's that?
Yeah, so anyway, I usually start at first thing in the morning. And then I don't think I'll put that in here, but I can get that to Nikki. So what we do is I sent to Ottawa the other day is we just put down like 30-minute slots or hour, depending on what it is. Like Road and Bridge might be a little longer, Register Deeds might be a little shorter because there may not be as much to talk about. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that would all be laid out on that, whatever date you choose there to meet. And by the time we're done, what I've done is taken your 25 budget. And because it depends on when you have it, if I have 26 information put in yet. Because the state of Kansas didn't put out their Excel budget document until usually about the first or second week in May. Okay, so what I usually do is I take the 25 budget, they make their presentations, I get a copy of that, and I mark up the 25 budget. Okay, and that's how I come up with the 26 budget. And then when I get that draft done of all the proposals, that next meeting would be about probably another 2 to 4 hours, depending on how many questions you have. And what that would be is I bring the draft budget back and we go through every one of the departments and talk about whether you think that's a feasible budget or not. By that time, we know the numbers a little more. We still may not know. It's getting close there. She shot for June 11th. I don't know your assessed value. It's not so much from the local, it's more the state, getting the state assessed to have your final valuation. Is that covered? That's what usually happens in most counties. I don't know what your county's like, but I usually do not get it until sometimes I've had it before the 10th, but it's usually in that time frame. And the reason that's important is because once we get that value, we then know what your mill levy would be set at based on last year's taxes. Okay, so that's the, whatever date we choose there, it probably, that rough draft probably should be somewhere in that tenth. She's got the 11th already, but it's somewhere in that, at that time period,
All right.
okay? And when we go through that, that's another incredible learning experience. Because not only are you learning, but I'm learning.
Okay.
Because you've talked about the discussions you've had on each of the departments, even in the past. Now, Lucas, you're new, but in that whole process, you know, it's a great learning experience. And Nikki, is this your second year or third? Second whole year, okay. So it's a learning experience for all of us, yeah, okay? Then, I have not done this before, but Ottawa County, the new county clerk there was 9 years in the Saline County Clerk's office. So what she wanted to add, and I've always wanted to do it, but no one really was eager about doing it, is an appeal process. And what that is, that next one on the 23rd, is when we get done with the rough draft budget, and you don't have to do this, this is just what Ottawa County wants to do, is they would be able to come in, we'd have the rough draft budget done. They would be able to come in and they would have a copy of their department of where you ended up setting their budget. If it was less than theirs or more than theirs, they would know that. And what she wanted is an appeal process where they can come in and talk, why did you cut my budget by $5,000? You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I've always wanted that, but it seems like I've done this for 42 years. That process there would really be nice because I tried to do it at the end, but you know how everybody gets busy. And the department heads don't know why their budget ended up the way it was at the end of the budget. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
That happens quite a bit. But what this does, this gives them a say, not a say, but at least they can come in and talk to you before that next step of the first final draft budget. Okay, so like you've been thinking about it. That's what a lot of this is you've been thinking about it and you're trying to figure out what that mill levy should be before July 20th. Okay, so that's why these meetings, and there could be, this may not be exactly the number of meetings. Her and I, she's new as a clerk. She's been a deputy clerk. She's done a lot of budgeting for like townships, cemetery, but she's never done a county budget. So that's why we went through, and I have this in electronic form, so Excel. So I'll just send it to you and then you can kind of see what dates would work for you. Does that work?
So this appeal, that should be where they could air their grievance essentially.
Yeah, okay, just history in most budgets. After I get done doing the department head presentations,
Mhm.
there will sometimes be as much as a 5 to 10 mil levy increase. That's just a general statement, okay? Because each department goes, well, we need this, or we need this. And I'm just telling you, it's amazing. Over 42 years, almost every time I get to that rough draft budget there, when I put all the numbers in, it's almost always a 5 to 10 mil increase. And over time, I've done, like Osage County, I've done it since the 90s. So I have a pretty good history there. I know the budget, and there's a lot of new department heads, but it's a training process. That's why we do this training back here to the departments, is we don't just throw wish lists at us.
Okay.
We are saying, this is what the budget needs to be. I think I sent you those articles, a couple articles. One of them was capital planning.
Yeah.
And in that capital planning, it talked about, here's capital outlay, or not capital outlay, capital improvements that we absolutely need. The rest of them in that article calls them horizon issues. Okay.
All right.
And those are issues that maybe, you need 3 years down the road, but we don't need them in the budget today.
So do you help them with that?
Yeah.
And you said a capital item. I mean,
Yeah.
would you say, well, that's not an immediate need, but that is a
Yeah,
3
we'll
to 5
talk
year?
about, and that's another thing we talk about when they come in. When they come in before you, we have a conversation about it. Then when I come back with the rough draft budget, you all talk about it to me on whether that should be in there or not. And I'll show you some other things here when we get past this.
Okay.
That kind of leads you through some of this, okay?
All right.
But those are the kind of conversations you would have both at the department head presentation when they come in and the rough draft budget. Those are longer meetings.
Okay.
But they're very beneficial because you can see, like, if you can have those in May, you have another 2 months to work through some of these decisions that you're gonna have to make. Okay? I'm not, I mean, the July 20th, I am totally against the revenue neutral rate. Not so much the keeping taxes down, but the process that you go through. Because literally I have to have a budget done by July 20th, where I used to have it done by August 10th or there. So what it's done is it's pushed the process back, and it's put a lot more pressure on the clerk. And then you have to have the assessed value, and there's just a lot of, so that's why I'm being a little more in the last couple of years since revenue neutral, getting a lot better plan together so that we can make sure we get there, okay? And this is literally a draft. This is Ottawa County. So what you need to do is, talk with talk to your clerk, your department heads, and come up with the dates that work for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And those
certainly.
time slots, the first one's pretty close. It takes about 2.5 hours to train the department heads. I mean, get them up to date on kind of what a department head's responsibility is. I also take, and I didn't copy it for you today, but what I would also do is take the 25 budget and copy that for each department head. And I go through and show them how the budget works. Not just their department. I go through and show them, here's how the budget flows. And there's a question mark out here at the side. She put whether commissioners come to that or not. I've had it both ways. I've had commissioners come to the department head training. Sometimes they don't. The reason sometimes they don't is they want the department heads to feel like they can ask any question they can. Yeah, to get discussion, and they don't feel like they have to. I don't mean this bad, but it just happens. They don't feel like, they have to answer a certain way because the commission's sitting in the room. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but I would take that and I'll show you. I'm not going to probably go through it, but you can, this is an example. I already put Brown County on it, but if you look on page 16, these are the slides of what I would go through with the department heads. Okay. And 17, it kind of starts there, how to build a long-term budget. That's one slide.
Okay.
What is budget authority and why is that important? Okay. Next page, a budget authority on the budget. So like you'd have the tax levy fund, how that budget works in a tax levy fund, and how the budget works in a non-tax levy fund. Okay, if you don't have taxes raised. What is cash carryover and what's a good amount? And we'll talk about this a little bit more here this morning, okay? How do you project future expenditures? What is good overall increase in percentage, like whether it's salaries or whether it's, now maybe, inflation's going to flatten out a little bit, but the last 3 or 4 years have been crazy because when you lock in the dollars of receipts, but your inflation's gone up as much as 20 and 30% over a 4-year period, it makes it very hard to budget. Okay. The next page is how to better utilize unused funds. If there's different, like, for example, you don't have one, but I did Jackson County the last 2 years, and then she felt like she wanted to try it herself. The clerk there, she'd been there about 28 years. The deputy clerk, she became clerk. So they're going to try it themselves this year, which is okay. And then call if they have questions. I can just work on an hourly basis. But what we did there is everything was thrown into capital improvement, and they had a large capital improvement fund, probably about $8 million. Okay. But in that capital improvement fund, they had a health insurance reserve of 1 million in the capital improvement fund. Okay. They had other resources like for building insurance or property insurance. So what we did is kind of broke that out, and we developed what's called a risk management fund. So like that would be one of the things we could talk about there. Do we want to set up a risk management fund for future expenditures that might come down the road? So like, I don't know what'd your property insurance go up last year? 15-20%.
Just say yes.
Yeah, it was, Jackson counties went up, I think, 150,000. That's a chunk of change, okay? And what's happening across the state of Kansas is not only is it going up, but one school district, I do a lot of training. They couldn't get an insurance carrier. One, Sedgwick, which is down by Wichita, a little school district, their deductible went from 100,000 to 1.5 million. So see, how are you gonna come up with 1.5 million? A school district's not, because they're so tight, you know, their budget is so tight. But like, those are the types of things that we need to talk about, you know? Where are you gonna come up with something like that if your deductible goes up and you have a tornado or disaster? Where we're gonna come up with that? So those are just things. So a risk management fund is something, and what's nice about those, it's like the capital improvement and special equipment. Those are three funds I like to see: special equipment, capital improvement, and risk management. If you need the money back in the general fund, you can always transfer back the other way. So like, let's say in 26, let's just say we put 50,000 over in risk management. The next year, there was something come up and you needed 25 of that. Okay, you can transfer back to general fund. So these are just, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just sharing with you kind of what I've done on other counties, okay? Down at the bottom, this is a question I get all the time in the general fund. So like, if you have a department in the general fund, I try to explain this to them. My budget in the general fund gets wiped out each year. How do I budget for this? So like, let's just say that the budget's $100,000 in the department, okay? And they only spend 90. They want to know where the other 10 went. Do they get a say? Because they were efficient, do they get to save it? Does it get transferred somewhere? I think it's Pratt County that whatever that savings is, they transfer to capital improvement and special equipment. They decide. Okay, so those are just things to talk about. Next one, what are the key consideration department heads should make? How to budget the capital outlay. This is and I've got an example here. I'll show you what I mean by this, but a city county example of how to, on page 22, how to do a capital improvement fund. How does each of these affect the mill levy? Because I think what I've been told many times when I started doing these trainings on department heads, probably 3 years ago, I hadn't done it forever, but they wanted it because a lot of them don't know how a budget works. And that's why we started training. That's on page 23, that's just the summary that gets published. How do you build a strong employee benefit fund? Because that's one that really drains the budget. Next page 24, how to budget grants. Are you earning the maximum interest? And then these are things that I've noticed on page 25, things that I've noticed over the years of common mistakes maybe in a government. But that's just kind of what I would go through. It takes, usually depending on the number of questions, it takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to go through that. By the time we go through the budget and go through those slides. Okay. And second year I did Pratt City that way. The department heads come up afterwards and said, thank you. We've never been explained how the budget works. So I think it's very beneficial and it'll actually help you all. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving. I don't know, how long do I have? 30 minutes?
You got 11 more.
11 more minutes. Okay. Well, this next one, then we'll spend our time here. On page 3, and there's another counter on the back of page 2, another example of how we do a counter. Okay, page 3, we took the time last week to go in and pull out your last 7 years of unencumbered cash, of receipts, of expenditures, of mill levy, and to show you, like in those slides, it said how much cash is enough. And you all may have had this happen, but when I was growing up, my dad said you need to have 3 to 6 months. I may have explained this last time. 3 to 6 months of reserves. Okay, so I'll show you by looking at this. These are things you can take this home and study, but you can look and see how much your unencumbered cash has changed in the last 7 years. Okay.
All right.
So the first line 4, in 2017, it was 1.4 million in the general fund. Look where it's at at the end of 23 and now at the end of 24. It went from 1.4 down to 103,000.
Mhm.
103,000, you'll see here on the, let me see here. I don't think I've made this calculation for you. But if you would just hold your finger on page 3 and look at page 5. Page 5 on line 4 is the general fund. You spend about $4 million a year. That line or column F, line 4, you spend about $4 million average a year in the general fund. Divide that by 12, and you would be looking at about $350,000 a month. Okay. Look at the balance at the end of 24 in the general fund. 103,000. And 1 month is 350,000 average. You see what I'm saying? Okay, and so what I've done is I went through every one of these funds and done this. And look at all the negatives circled in column G. You see that? Those are on page 3, those would be unencumbered cash balances by the end of 23. So what I did down at the bottom, I just showing this real quick. And again, this is, we're going through this pretty quick, but if you look at the average unencumbered cash in column F, the bottom is 3,000,003. It's circled. You see that number? I subtracted out 1.8, which was the end of 23, and you were short of the average by 1.4 million. I subtracted out the end of 24 down here at the bottom of that, and you were short almost 1.8 million of what the average unencumbered cash has been over the last 7 years. Now, some of that through COVID there, some of that could be, spark money, ARPA funds, this is all funds. I haven't went down. The next thing I'll do is I'll drill down to mainly the general fund, the road and bridge fund, and some of the more, the larger operating funds and see where we're at based on those 3 to 6 months there. Okay. So if you keep flipping here, because I only got about probably 5 minutes now.
7.
Huh? 7. Okay. Page 4 is the total receipts. So what's interesting about the bottom of this one is I actually bring total expenditures over at the bottom of page 4 there. 26 is total expenditures, 24 is total receipts. But look at the difference on line 28. Every one is circled except for one of where your receipts are less than your expenditures for the last 7 years. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So what happens there, and it's going to happen in a lot of entities across the state of Kansas, when you have revenue neutral, your dollars are locked and inflation went up, and maybe it's not, I don't know if it's going to go up anymore, maybe it'll flatten out, but that's what ends up happening. And I'm not a proponent of raising taxes, but I'm a proponent of staying, like CP, see, it used to be in tax lid law, like CPI, Consumer Price Index. So let's just say, and there's some things thrown around in Topeka, what we lock it maybe at 3% or, something like that. But if you don't do that over a constant period, all of a sudden you're in this situation. You see what I'm saying? That's why your cash balances have dropped fairly significantly.
And keeping it low is not always the answer.
No,
Slow,
no.
steady increase. How do
Just,
you-
yeah, because that's the way at home. At home, there's no way you'd have to end up. The only other answer is at home, you would cut different services or things that you'd pay for. Well, here, I did that back in the 90s at Osage County. I went through every office and I went to the budget training the other day by KAC that Ryan, he's the deputy finance director at Butler County. He went through and he showed on a slide what offices have to be in place and what are more your choice. And I did that back in the 90s because that's the only other option. If you don't have any cash, you have to cut. It's like at home, you have to cut certain line items. I got probably 3 or 4 minutes now. Every one of these, you can see them. I've circled things that jumped out at me. Like you can see why on line 4 on page 5, the general fund, the average is.
If you had 10 more minutes, would it be helpful?
Oh, I'm just giving you, I didn't know how much time I had. So I'm just.
I could ask if they can give us another 10 minutes.
I'll go ask Don. Would you ask? I think he'll be okay with this.
Yeah, it's no problem. Whatever.
I'll
Yeah.
just tell him.
Well, I mean, I've got some questions. So when you see this
Yeah.
line 28 with all, if that was
Yeah.
red ink, I mean, that'd be red ink.
Yeah.
mean, what's the situation here in Bounty County? Do we need immediate, I mean, like large scale type corrections? Are you thinking something, a course change gradually?
I'll show you another sheet here, that'll show you that,
Okay.
okay?
Okay,
But, give you well, let's wait till he gets back.
okay. So I'm following you.
I'm not trying to scare you, but I have done this long enough that it's like at home. What happens at home though, in a house is, I just saw this stat the other day, well, it was back at Christmas. 30% of the households in the United States still have their credit card debt from the previous Christmas,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay. Yeah.
30%. Well, at home, if you're short, what happens? I mean, not everybody, but what happens? They use credit cards.
Right.
Okay. In a local government, you can't use a line of credit. I mean, you can use credit cards like for fuel or whatever, but you can't use a line of credit. And that's why unencumbered cash balances are so important. Because the only other option you have if you run out of cash is what's called the Board of Tax Appeals, BOTA. And what BOTA is you have to go there and you can only get funding if you have an emergency that they deem an emergency. So I'll give you an example, fire truck. Say your big pumper truck goes down in a city. You can go there and get funding, but you have to pay it off like in 4 years. I mean, it's very quick payoff, okay? And that's not something you want to do. So that's why for years I've talked about unencumbered cash, because it's very important to keep, balances. You say kick him out? Oh, okay, good. We're good. We were just talking about, what happens like on page 4, if you run these deficits where you have more expenditures than you do receipts, it uses up, you can see why the cash dropped in total here. Because every year, if you have, like back on column K, 729,000, I don't know what that is, but it dropped. You had that many more expenditures than you had receipts. And then in H, which is 22, now that could be, well, that one might be actually employee benefit. No, it's not that much off. But anyway, it just happens. Okay. And I want to show you one more thing here on cash. Okay. So expenditures, you see those differences. Now let's go to page 6. This is the mill levy. And I want to show you something here. Again, I'm not a proponent of tax increases, but here's kind of what I see happen in my mind from the outside. So you've had a mill levy literally the same since on line 24 since 17. So there it was 33.496 on line 24, and the average is 31.989. And you are up a little bit. In 25, it was 35.643. Okay. But let's just say, let's apply this based on your assessed values, 232,000. And that's a pretty good assessed value for counties. And a lot of it's because your land, I noticed this when several years ago, I started doing marshals right after they had the clerk take all the money there. And I helped them with the budget a couple years. And I helped them with the budget there. And I didn't realize how much more your farmland or your farm and ag land up here is valued compared to even the middle of Kansas. Okay. But that's why you're valued 232,000. Okay. Let's just say that you had the same mill levy, and I don't know what the averages of counties across the state, but the average or the values I have, Ottawa County is in the 80s, okay? Because you got this, I don't have it in front of me. They have 80s because they have no commercial property, and most of it's pasture land, and so their value is very low, okay? You go down to Marion County and Ottawa County, and theirs is about the same. It's in the 50s, okay, 50 mills. So let's just take 50 and say that was what it would be over the 14 more mills every year times your assessed value, or 1 mill of 232,000. You see that there at the bottom of page 6? That's right at $3.2 million, okay, based on these mills here. Okay, that's 1 year. So if you look at page 7, here's what I did. I had Lauren go through and take your unencumbered cash, first column, take your annual expenditures for 23, and this is 23, it's not 24. And 23's monthly, and we said 350, it's 370 there on the general fund. But if you look at this right-hand column is based on taking month's reserve. If you look at the third column from the last, I do the general fund and the road and bridge fund having 6 months of unencumbered cash. You see that? The rest of them are 3. It's the third column from the right. You see the 6s and the 3s, okay? What that is taking the monthly expenditures times 6 and the monthly expenditures times 3 to show what the unencumbered cash balances would be based on 6 months or 3 months in those specific funds. The right-hand column is the actual negative balance based on that reserve. So what it's doing is taking the second column from the right and subtracting it from the first column on the left. And that's how much short you are of mainly the six months and the 3 months. So in the very right-hand column, it's about 3.5 million based on what 3 months and 6 months would be. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's where you're not the only one. That's where a lot of governments are going to be right after this revenue neutral rate. And the scary thing about this for me, and I'm not saying the sky is falling, is all the COVID money's gone. Okay. And it's the only thing that kept some governments going. Okay. And the interest rates are probably going to flatten out. That's what another thing in the budget the last 3 years that kept them going at a revenue neutral is interest rates. If they were budgeting at the 90-day T-bill rate, they were probably making some pretty good money. We're talking like, in your case, 232, probably 2 to 3 mils. But your cash balances are so low, so you're not going to earn as much interest, okay? Where like Jackson County having that, they probably have total of 15 million in unencumbered cash, 14 million in unencumbered cash. Now it's going to drop off because they're trying to flatten it out, but each county is a little different. But this sheet number 7 right here is one that we will talk about as we go through. Because what happened, this happened in Pratt County when I took it over. This had been now 4 years ago. What was asked of the budget preparer is keep the mill levy the same. What that preparer did was they went through all the funds and they said, oh, well, this fund's got an extra $500,000 in it. Let's just take it out of the cash. Okay. So they took it out of the cash there. They took it out here. And before you know it, we were probably about 6 mils short in Pratt County. When I haven't done all those calculations here, but that's just, and I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying you can't just go like a farm or a business like mine. I can go get a line of credit. If I have a shortage of cash, I can go get a line of credit. But in a government, you can't do that. So these are just things I've noticed. I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying these are things when you go home, look it over, because then I'll come back and talk to the department heads. And then I threw in another couple things here. This next page is a city, but it's the same for a county. Page 9 is a capital improvement fund. And where I live in Galva, I actually sat down with the brand new maintenance director. He's my neighbor, and the city clerk. And we went through and down the left-hand side, we put down everything that they felt like they needed to update over the next 7 years. Okay. Everything. And then I took it to the council. We spent another 2 hours going through and saying what should be. Now, this has not been updated, but that's what really Pratt City, they have no finance director. They have nothing like that. And that's a pretty good sized city. That's about 7,000 people. They had nothing like this. When they make an expenditure, they had no idea if they had the money to do it or not. You see what I'm saying? Okay, that's a big piece. I give you another article here that's just 3 pages, multi-year capital planning. I've underlined and circled some things that I noticed. This we got from Butler County on page 15. I've never used something this extensive, but this is the way Butler County does their raises on page 15. They go through and put every employee in each of the tabs. Every department has a tab on Excel spreadsheet on page 15. Every one of the departments has that. And when they get done, they know exactly, like if you look at there, it's down towards the bottom, it says initial payroll, final payroll. And so it has adjustments based on the raises. So, you know, Marion County has something like this where Tina there used to, you could just plug in, like, let's just say you plugged in a 3% raise. It would actually go across all the Excel spreadsheets and say, this is what the impact is by department. I don't know if you have something like that here. You do have something. Okay. Okay. So we have it. I think that's just a quick run through. All right. Oh, yeah. That's an extra one if you want.
So would you take, at the department level, would you take and run through? Well, like you talked about this plan per gallon and the spending. Do you do that at the department level?
Yeah, they usually, I have another sheet, there are 5 questions. I didn't put it in here today, I didn't know how much to overload you, I'm not trying to overload you, I'm just trying to say, these are things I discuss. I've used it forever, I have a 5-question sheet that I give to each department. And, you know, what equipment are you planning on buying this year or wanting to buy? You know, and then what, any employees you're trying to add, just those general things that, I think, let me look here, I forgot to price it. Yeah, if you look on back of page 8, this is some questions for you personally, as a commission. We did this at Osage County last year. They are locked in at revenue neutral. Two of the commissioners do not want to go above revenue neutral. Okay. So we went through and we talked about these 4 or 5 bullets, just things that, so I know kind of what the commission's wishes are, or at least where they want to head, you know, where should the, you know, revenue neutral, are we going to stay there? 3 to 6 months emergency fund, just what I showed you. It's not going to happen overnight. What happened in Pratt County is we went to, it was hard, but a $6 million increase because they were so short of money. But what we did is we looked at the next 5 years and said, how can we build it over a 5-year period? Because we didn't get here overnight. You know, it was a challenge. It was a situation where they chose to stay at mill levy, and they were right in the middle of the inflation. So both Pratt City and Pratt County had the same thing. 30% increases over about a 4-year period, locked in like this, okay? And their cash, that's the only other place to go, is to take your cash and burn it. And that's literally, if I would just say anything that we need to talk about, is that page right here, page 7, is how are we going to get it to where we have a general fund, because the general fund can pay for any expenditure. Okay. But if we've got, this is the 23, we have 256,000 and we're at the end of 24 to 103,000. Okay. And that's not even half a month of expenditures. That's what concerned me probably the most, because the general fund, what happens is, like Osage just happened, employee benefits runs out. They had 4 people that had very difficult situations in health. The next year it went up 40%. They ran out of money in September. They had no other cash. So the general fund had a pretty healthy general fund, and that 750,000 roughly was paid out of the general fund as a line item. It's the only way they made it through. So you see why it's important to have the general fund very healthy, because it can cover any expenditures. Does that make sense?
I know my concern when we cut the budget, what we did last year is.
Yeah.
Are we gonna run out of cash this next year?
Yeah.
We're gonna be in trouble.
It'll be tight.
And I thought, you know, everybody didn't believe me, but we're there.
Anyway, that's I don't know, what was that, 39 minutes?
Exactly. Exactly. That's why you're a high paid consultant, right? You've got that clock on it all the time. So we've got, okay, there's a lot of good questions here. One of your slides talks about staying out, not building silos, team environment. I think that's pretty important.
It's
How do we
important.
how do we get departments in here and us to not be adversaries, but kind of on the same team?
It didn't happen overnight. Goodness, I've had about thrown about everything at me possible, you know. I think the more that people understand why, a lot of times they just come in and they say, well, I want my budget, you know, and this is the budget I need. but then you understand the whole picture. And that's why I went to the training about 3 years ago of helping the department heads understand why their budget may not went up, or why they had to maybe share their extra this year with another office, because Ottawa County took it to another level. I don't know if it was okay. I didn't know they were gonna do this, but I went, showed up that day, and they actually had all the department heads in the room. It wasn't a training. They went through each department head and made a presentation to all the department heads. It was an extra meeting we had at Ottawa County, because I don't know if you saw this or not, but they got their budget cut because Ms. Tyson showed up and they messed up their revenue neutral rate after I'd left on the revenue neutral hearing, their hearing. And they had to go back to revenue neutral. And so they had to cut $895,000 out of the budget. And so the next year we sat down so that every department had understood how each department worked. And why they needed this money or that, and like either just, they had to shut their jail down. We knew that either. But Saline County opened theirs, they lost all their prisoners that they were housing. And housing prisoners is how a lot of jails make money. Okay, so there's just a lot of things that's happened, and the more information, the better they understand it. And there'll be some tough questions. Some people will agree with you and look and say, okay, I understand. But I always try to take it back to your home, because they understand what it's like at home.
So if you take it to the home level, I'm looking at tax change orders here,
Yeah.
and you get some people that are paying, $400 or $500 a month property tax on their house. So we got to find balance there too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we're not gonna
And-
get there overnight, but
It's fine to have a revenue neutral rate, but what other resources are we gonna generate to make that balance?
So
With
when-
these.
will you look, and since you have so much, you get to see a lot of different counties in action. Do you look for operational inefficiencies in departments and make?
Yeah,
some
one of the
judgment
questions
calls,
there
or-
is, can we, what I had on there is, can we look across, like, you've probably already done this, but like copy machine, just different lease terms and copy machines, equipment leases. Osage County, one of the things they decided is the maintenance guy decided to take over some of the things. And I forget what that, oh my goodness, the AC. They were still gonna come out and check it, but the contract on that one alone was 40 grand a year or something. It's pretty extensive. So they're just things like that. I don't get into that unless I'm asked.
Okay,
But we bring them up in each of the departments, and say, technology is another, they just switched their technology at Osage from a guy because of the cost and what they got. So there's things like that.
how do you find a balance between, so if you take it back to your house, if we're running lean, we're not spending money on things we don't need.
Yeah.
But you do want to reserve, for emergencies. Where's the balance in government where we want to be hungry enough that we're not, just throwing money down the hole?
So you can see from that first slide, our first 7 year is there was negatives all across there, okay? So if I was just sitting here and I don't know the history I do this because this helps me understand where you came from. But if you have those negatives for 7 years, again, you didn't get there overnight. You had some pretty good cash balances 7 years ago. And so the way I've always done it is, I don't like this mill levy like this, okay? Now you kept yours like this, but maybe we should have been going like this, like the 3% or 4%. And I think people, I do, I live on Main Street, Galva, have a fairly hefty tax bill, on my house. But as long as the entities that comes from, are doing their job, that's gonna happen. But I'm a CPA, so I understand that. I understand budgeting, and I know it's gonna take, like, for example, the banker was only paying them 0.95 on their interest. Okay, and we got it up to 5.2 that first year that it jumped up. That was $88,000 of interest income they were missing out on. The banker calls me because I've lived there for 39 years. He goes, Scott, I'm gonna have to cut my salary in half. I said, well, Jeff, that's great, because I'm gonna take my CPA hat off, and I'm a taxpayer on South Main of 4 acres and 2 buildings and a house. that 88,000 should be helping pay for, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So there's a balance there. You gotta figure out,
Okay.
are you getting all your resources? Is there other resources you could get? Or, roads are just so tough to, I mean, that. And remind me again here, you are not a town, you're a township?
Yeah, township.
Townships is okay, yeah,
We only have hard surface roads.
yeah, hard surface road, okay. Yeah, and another thing that's really interesting in your budget, and I didn't plan for you, I may have told you last time I was here. The way the budget was done is you just have department totals. Like you don't have personnel services, contract services, commodities. So like what I mean by that, when I was again looking through this in the morning. When I do the budget, you have it probably internally, but like, for example, here. These are the expenditures. This is the way your budget shows up in the general fund. No transparency. See, each of those lines, personnel services, contract services, commodities and capital outlay. The more knowledge you have, not clear down to 20 lines, which is probably on the computer system, but at least down to 4 or 5 where you can say, why did you take contract services up by 20,000 this year? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here, you would never know it because it's in a line item. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's things like that we can do to.
So you have access to all the data. You'll be able to spot trends and ask questions.
Oh, huh? Oh, okay. So we'll have to look, I'll have
This
to
is
look
the
at
notes
this
you made on. when I was-
last time, yeah.
Last time.
Yep. Yep. Mhm.
All right, excellent.
Okay, now 44 minutes.
So,
47.
take a few more minutes.
I drove 6 hours for 47 minutes.
Did you
Uh,
want more time? I mean,
No,
'cause we
no,
can
I
do it
didn't
at
know.
the end of the
No,
meeting.
no.
Okay.
I'm good. I just wanted to get this to you today because you called
This
me
is
the other
wonderful.
day.
This is
and
wonderful.
This is. If you study this, make notes. And whenever you set that department head training up.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we can have another conversation or ask questions.
That's
or-
our action step, just to go ahead and get a schedule.
Or just send an email and just say, these are the 7 questions that we have on your stuff. And Lauren and I will get back with you with all the detail of what those answers are.
Okay.
And that might be the best way until we have our first meeting.
All right,
Does that work?
So,
I think so. Go ahead, go ahead. Lee.
one of my concerns was, I don't have a good understanding of the income we have.
Absolutely.
And
Well, one of the reasons, if you look at the budget here, now Nikki could give you more detail for sure. But I was noticing here, even in the budget, when we're trying to budget. Yeah, we can, it'd actually be on the general ledger. I mean, we'll be able to come up with it. But the way the budget was done, all that's shown is taxes, intergovernmental, which is probably sales tax. Do you have sales tax? Some don't.
some sales tax.
There
Some
is
sales
some,
tax,
yeah.
okay. Fines and fees and reimbursements. You have no idea what those details are when you're budgeting, okay?
Uh-huh.
And I always budget conservatively because it's like at home. You don't want to overestimate your receipts. But we'll look at all those. And we can actually do probably a 7-year on those receipts because we can take the audit report probably and break those out, okay?
As far as this calendar though.
That's the most important thing to work on right now,
Okay, so we need to come up with the dates that work
work for you. Yeah,
work for us.
Yeah.
And work for the department.
Yeah.
heads. And we can just work through that together.
yeah, absolutely. And just send me, and if I can't do it on that date, I'll send you 2 or 3 back, saying these are dates that work for me. Because the longer you wait, my calendar gets
It's full.
pretty full,
Right.
yeah. Okay?
Quickly. All right.
You can, there's something that we did last year. Where we
Is this
took
a
some,
copy?
yeah, I got a copy of it. I mean,
These are notes on it. You want?
yep, that's okay.
You okay?
Yep, I'm okay.
Okay.
That lets
Okay.
you know what we did last year
Sure.
a little bit. To
Absolutely,
help you.
absolutely.
What we.
Thank you very much.
what
You're
we
welcome.
attempted to
And
do.
thanks for letting me show up. I do this quite a bit anymore. My dad was in 8th grade. He's a banker for 56 years. And he's going, why are you showing up in a professional meeting? Yes. Okay, and don't feel like it bothering me with emails.
Okay.
Okay, there's 2 rules I have. There's no dumb questions. And, you just gotta ask, you gotta ask them.
Okay.
And, it's important because that's how we learn. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll get the. So I could, more than maybe out here, but thank you.
They're very, yeah, okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right,
Ready?
yeah, we're ready. Sorry, fellas. Come on up. Appreciate you giving us some extra time
No.
here.
Very
Really do.
important. And these are in order if you kind of keep them that way. It'll make us go a little quicker, I think. We got several things I want to go over this morning. First thing is I want to thank District 1 and 3 Road Department for coming out. They each brought dump trucks and got dirt hauled and it worked great. Got quite a bit done. I appreciate it. Okay. So before COVID hit, we were talking about having an active shooter training here in the courthouse. And that's part of this safety committee thing that Nikki's brought up, and I guess that will help with our insurance rates.
Okay.
Okay, so a safety meeting, the places I've been before here, we had safety committees, and I thought it was a very good idea, and I was always a member of that. And I'd like to see that going here, and if it financially helps, you know, that's even better. So Nikki's asked me if I would get that organized, and I would like to start doing it with an active shooter training. And I would like to get as many of the county employees as possible to that. And the way we had it set up for COVID was we picked a Tuesday afternoon between 3:30 and 4:30. It takes me an hour for that. And April 22nd is just kind of a day I picked out. I would like permission to have that training here in the courthouse. We do it down in the basements where we had it planned. And each department, last time we planned it, we try to keep a couple people in their office, keep them open. But otherwise, the rest of the employees would be downstairs.
All the employees are in courthouse place.
I would invite everybody in the county. This training, I've done hundreds of them in Nebraska. It's extremely important. I've done them in churches, libraries, a lot of schools. It helps every citizen to go to that training and get them to think, if I'm in that, and it could happen in the grocery store, it could happen during a church service. What do I do if shooting breaks out? This gets them thinking, you know, what am I gonna do? So I would encourage every county employee to at least be invited to it. And from that meeting, at the end of it, I would like to talk to them about the safety committee meeting and get some volunteers that would like to join that. And then we'll talk about, I think there should be one from each of the major departments and then like one from each floor in the courthouse type thing. And we don't want it too big, but we want enough representation.
What was
And
the
then-
date on that again?
April 22nd is one that I picked out. I don't know if there's any conflictions with that.
The only one would be if anybody goes to the ACA three, that's the meeting date. The Association of County meeting. April 21st to the 23rd.
And the sheriff's office will be very involved in this training. Right, John? Yeah, they'll be helping with it.
So you keep the courthouse open though. Some
Yes.
employees won't go.
Right.
All right. Is that the way it needs to be done? Yeah, is that,
That works fine.
that work fine?
Yep.
Okay.
That'll work for, you know, not everybody's gonna get the training, but the way I've done this is I've got this one, the basic, and then an advanced one. And usually I do that like a year later, like in the school year, we come back a year later and do it for the staff. But, and it's a more advanced one, and hopefully those that missed it come into that. Or, you know, if there's enough people miss it and they want another training, you know, I'll come in and do it.
Okay.
So there's no minimum number to do it. But I think the important thing is let's get it started, and it really seems to inspire people to work better and think more safety consciousness. One thing here in this building, when I went through it, I don't know that people know if you're on the second, third floor,
where do you go if there's a fire down here on the first floor? Most of them don't know there's a way to get onto the roof and how to do it. I think those are the kind of things we need to be going through in this safety thing. You know, we don't want them trapped in a fire and not know where to go. So now I have approval to go ahead and schedule that on the 22nd.
Sure. And just by consensus or do you?
Yep.
Consensus, I mean,
Is that time, Nikki, do you think a good time? The hour should be adjusted? Okay. What I like to do is have it end at the end of their workday, because there's always people that want to ask questions and talk about it. And that way they can do it on their own time and we're not taking into a bunch of work time. Okay, I'll go ahead and get that scheduled and I'll get with the sheriff's office. Okay, the next big one is the landfill. This top sheet you got here, this is what brought this all about. And I think that Barb does an outstanding job up there. I don't want anyone to think that, you know, there's anything negative in this. I think she does outstanding. This is the sheet that come out and I didn't even know this was a color printer. You know, first time I've ever seen red since I've worked here at the county. I went through this and I had Heather help me. We have no idea where this number came from. And I wanted to dig into this. I don't like to go, you know, have somebody else do my work for me. So we dug into everything we absolutely could. And I think there's a problem on the way we do stuff at the dump. And what I want you to look at, this top, the next one that you go under is the February printout that came. And that's what this one negative is based off of. This is all the expenses and all the income that came in. Right, Nikki? Okay, that's a good way to explain it. Okay, so we started going through that. Why are we showing that we're negative? Okay, the next packet you got in here says deposits incomes for solid waste during February. One big one, and if I was just trying to fight this and say, hey, you know, here's how come I'm not in the wrong and there's red. Here's all the deposits for each day that we turned in. If you look down, that you go about a third of the way down, there's a $29,000 deposit. Okay, that came in from a business that we've had a lot of problems with collecting from. That came in, but it was a way overpayment. So Heather says, I want to see what they want to do with this check, and she didn't turn it in immediately, wanting instructions from that company. So we had $29,000 income there, and it was not credited to our account by the courthouse here until March 7th. So technically, we were not in the red if you put that in. Okay, but I'm not stopping there. You know, because I still think we have a problem looking at everything. But if I was arguing, I'd say, you know, this red don't exist. Yeah, and that's part of it. I don't know how long. I'm not trying to put blame anywhere. Yeah, there is. I think it probably was after the 1st of March. Okay. Yep.
Does the 8,400, does it fall in the same category then, since it wasn't deposited until the 3rd? Okay.
Yep, there's another one. Now, if you go down to the bottom, we've got, there's 2 at the end of the month. They're not showing till the next month. Now, I know, so I know that you have to have time to close your books, you know, to have things ready. But there again, if I'm required to make a profit, which I am out there, what is it based on? Is it the 1st of the month to the last day of the month? Is it the 5th of the month to the 25th of the month? You know, we need to make this fair.
The last Thursday of that month, or it's not on the books for that month.
Yeah.
Go next month.
Or if she brings it in on her way home and puts it in a lockbox out here, So it's here, but it's not to the office it needs to be.
Uh-huh.
But still, if I brought in that $30,000 check, that gives me a red mark on here, which is not really a red mark.
So your question is, do you need to show profit every month or every quarter or every year? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, or every day, you know what, we need to have a guideline set here. You know, because you can see how this varies so much different. But, and we don't need to decide that right now, I'm just pointing this out, you know, how. Really, I don't have a red mark there, but digging into this, I think there's a problem underlying that we need to look at, just because. You know, to me, I've been getting by with this where the landfill has for a long, long time. And I do not understand the system Barb uses. And I need to learn it, obviously, because let's look at the next page. This is what Heather did for me. August is when I started there. The first column,
Which page you on?
I'm on this one.
All right, there we go.
Okay, we got the month and the next one, build out. That means what bills we sent out. Total deposits, that is the income for that month. She had a typo on that first one, that's why there's a marked out one, just a little one. Paid out, that's what I got off of this sheet, the Barb sends me, where that number came from each month. Okay, the difference between what was billed out and what was paid out. Okay, $2,000. If you look down that, every month is negative. You go to the next column, difference between, let's see, PD is total deposits and what was paid out. Okay, just because we billed it out, don't mean we got paid for it. And like this $30,000 check, businesses are a month behind paying us. So that's why there's two different columns here. You look down that, almost every month, we're in the negative again. So to me, we are losing money out there every month. And the next page, I averaged it out, and that's my hand written at the bottom. We are losing $16,000 a month. Now, if that's the case, and this was for the entire year last year, January through December. If we're losing $16,000 a month, how come there's never been a red mark on this sheet before? So I'm obviously doing something wrong.
Yeah, we can have it here. So.
Your cash balance was able to, cash on hand was able to cover your negative and carry you. But just like the auditor or the guy was just here, all of our cash, we've bundled our cash down. We're in trouble with not having enough cash as a county.
Okay, so are you saying that the last 5 years had a profit and that money was just building up in the checking account and we spent it away? Okay. That answers it. Okay. All right, so we're going downhill 16,000 a month by my calculation. Okay, so that's a trend that I want to address. I don't want it to go any more now that I know about it. The last page. This is our income expense numbers. Municipal solid waste is the stuff that goes up on the tipping floor. We are charging for in-county, the small one, if you drive in with your pickup, $63.50 a ton. Okay, out of county it's $68.50. The volume haulers, that means if you bring in over 50 tons a week, it's $60 a ton, no matter where it comes from. Okay, the next thing is, what are we having to pay to get rid of this? Okay, HAM, the company themselves, it's their trailers, and if they have their driver come and do it, it's $45, $47 a ton as of right now. Okay. Nick Smith, the hauler that we have, and I'll remind you, the reason we have him was because HAM, we're their lowest priority. When they have extra drivers, they send them and they'll get rid of our trash. Otherwise, it might build up and be clear down to the end of the fence. So that's why we pay extra. To,
It's happening quite often where we were.
yeah, it was horrible. I got lots of pictures and I was documenting to start with. We had no choice. We had to start hauling it off. Okay, it's 55.62. So we're paying roughly $10 a ton to guarantee that our trash is being gone. We are still using Ham occasionally because Nick cannot keep up with it. At times, we're averaging 5 trailers a day and he can only do 3 if everything runs good.
So wait a minute. So the 55 is in addition to the 45 or is just different?
So it's cost us about $10 a ton more for Nick Smith to haul it.
And is that just the cost of the actual trash or does that have all the other costs built into it?
Okay, that is, which one are we talking about?
Well, like you pay, so a volume hauler brings it in for $60. That's what we charge them.
Right.
But it costs us $45.47. I mean, does that count for any operational cost or is
No.
that just the cost of the trash?
That's the cost of the trash.
Oh, so you got $15 a ton less than to work with to pay your.
Right.
Okay.
So that's where I thought we need to start looking at it, what that is. Okay, C and D, construction and demolition. Okay, we charge in county $28 a ton.
Can we back up here? What's it? You say gate fee, hauling fee, what's,
Okay, a gate fee is what does it cost to get across the scale at the landfill in Perry, Kansas? That's what they charge us when they weigh us,
for every load,
or
for every load?
for every ton in
Yeah,
every
per ton.
load. Well, just in the load for Ham. Oh, wait, we're looking at gate fee. Okay, Nick. Ham, it's their trailers that we're using, right? Okay, and their drivers and everything when we're talking to them. So they tell us it's 45.47 per ton, period. Okay, now we get down here to Nick, they're going to weigh his truck and say how many tons it is, and they charge him per ton. So if he has a 19-ton load, it's going to cost different than a 25-ton load. That's why I put gate fee on there. Because his load's gonna vary by ton. And therefore, he charges us $375 to haul it down no matter what it weighs. So I've got to adjust that per ton. Does that
So,
Answer it.
so all these members are included in 55,
in the, yes,
that's a total of that, okay, all right. Fine.
okay. That's what it costs us to get rid of a ton using each one of those entities. Now, let me back up. Ham, I've talked with them. They are talking about, and I want you to keep that in mind, that don't mean it's a guarantee. They're talking about getting out of the business of hauling the trash. They're gonna try to move their facilities to contract drivers like Nick Smith. And we're already starting to see some of those drivers show up for them to haul our trash when Nick can't keep up. So I just wanted to let you know, that may not be as reliable as it was.
So Hams right now is our safety valve.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so. Another thing I want to add into that. And this is talked to, it hasn't happened, but I'm trying to keep up, planning for the future. Donovan County, they sold their landfill to Miller Trash Service. That's a done deal. Miller is telling us that they can't make it and they're gonna start hauling their stuff to us. And that's gonna be on the average 1 truckload, 20 tons a day. So that's 1 more truck. So I'm trying to plan ahead for that. And that's gonna be another driver and,
You say no to that?
okay,
Or is
How-
it gonna be profitable?
okay, how are we going to say no to them and treat them the same with everybody else? I wanna treat everybody the same. They're an out-of-county hauler, just like Fall City Sanitation. How do we tell them, no, you can't come, but Fall City can? I just wanna treat them the same. And we have time. It's just, I wanna bring that up. All right. So C and D, we charge in county $28 a ton, out of county $13.50. Our track loader, I told you, I don't like running that thing hauling dirt back and forth, and we've been using that, but we are getting repair bills. They just, last week when I was gone on that day, of course, it's when I'm gone, hydraulic hose underneath the belly of it broke. He said it's just from wear and tear of the mechanic. They came up and it was a great big hose, and they had to drive back to Topeka to get the hose and come back. So that's gonna be a huge bill, but I keep getting these repair bills on this equipment. I'm trying to keep the expenses down as much as I can and take off hoses that we can take to John Deere and get fixed. You know, to save the mechanic bills coming out, but those kind of things we can't do, it's too big for us. All right, average expenses for the last 8 months per month, 104,000. Average income over the last 8 months is 85,000. And Nikki, your answer to that is that cash reserve that was filled up before, that's how we've been making it. I didn't have an answer. I thought I was missing something major. Now, like, I think you kind of pointed out, we're not taking into account any wages or anything else in these numbers up there.
So how much? So we need to know how much that is and how much upkeep on the building and stuff, all that is.
Okay, the, just averaging, and I don't. Using this sheet that comes out every month. You've got 2 different wages listed up there. If you average them out, it's about $450 a day. Does that sound right? I believe that's what it was, $457 a day. The wages. And I can't tell you, is that everybody that was Richie and my wages in it?
Yeah.
Right.
Well. So this, the last 8 months then, with math is. $19,000.
Okay.
In the hole
That's per month though.
per month. Yeah, per
Yep.
month.
And I guess I'm disappointed this wasn't caught before. I'm glad that it turned red and it's hot now, but
Okay, so what I was hoping is that the delay in deposits. Versus the expenses were in February, but some of your February income didn't come until March. There's a lag there. But well, I was hoping that was all the problems, the source of the red ink. Well, that's part of it. But you're still, the expenses are just way more than the income, so we're bleeding. Cash, and now it's finally caught up with us and everybody understands that. Is that right?
that's what I believe is happening.
Okay, so then the only thing to do is to cut expenses or increase income.
Yes.
And we need to do it
Or
immediately.
both.
Yeah, or both. Yeah, both is right. Okay, so how do our trash rates compare? I mean, they're obviously not high enough, but how do they compare to other landfills?
We are below all of them. Like Nemaha County, we've got haulers that when we're closed on those Saturdays, they're hauling to Nemaha County only because we're closed. They say we're lower, that's why they bring it here. So we're lower, but you gotta remember the other counties, it's hard to compare because some of them will only take in-county trash. They won't take out of county. Donovan County's is closed. So I don't count anymore. Jackson County doesn't take the out of county. Right, so, it's hard to compare. Atchison is, tax funding. You don't pay anything if you're an in-county resident. It's free, you take the trash. It's funded that way, and you can't bring out of county.
Well, do you have suggestions for us?
No, because it took me till this weekend to get to this point to where it's at. I don't know how much I'm gonna have to raise it, and I couldn't figure out why I was making it this long, but now you've answered it. So my figuring is correct. I thought I was missing something.
Okay,
Once we raise rates, we're gonna start losing the amount of people hauling in too, because it's not gonna benefit us. Which, you know, that's just part of it, so we're not gonna gain 100%.
But where are they gonna go out of county? I mean, there's no place to go unless they haul all the way down themselves, right?
Right. But I hate, you know, well, we have to at least break even. We don't have a choice.
Certainly, yeah, okay. So you got the information, spent a lot of time getting it. Now you'll work on possible
Yep.
solutions and we'll
Right.
probably see you next week then.
Yes, I will plan on.
Okay.
With what I think. I do not see how I can cut any. Man hours out there. Cause I'm putting in way more than I should be, and, there's. You know, like, I spend the last day every day out there. You know, because, Brandon's got his 8 hours in. So I just can't cut anywhere, hours wise.
So you try and keep the overtime down.
Right, yeah, he's going home early.
Is the office?
Yeah, and. And she still is, and one thing is, she brings in that deposit every day. You know, from there, that she gets there at 7:45, which there's people sitting on the scales usually waiting on her. And then, so she needs to get the computer turned on and all that and get it going. And then she works till 4 o'clock. And usually there's people there dumping at 4, so it takes her a while to get the computer shut down. Then she has to bring the deposit here to the courthouse, put it in the lockbox. So that's overtime every single day that I don't have an answer for.
So do we have a part-time person on there anymore?
Yes, we just started one, I believe it's 2 weeks ago. He just started, he's in training. And it is unbelievable how much that job takes, computer to learn it. I was totally surprised. I didn't think there'd be much to it, you know, weigh it, write it down, but. So he is working some by himself, but he wasn't to the point where we left him alone on Saturday by himself. But he's getting there, which is gonna help with overtime.
I mean, we open up at 8, so I mean, we gotta be there at least a little bit before because.
Yeah.
They're expecting to dump at 8, and if we make them sit there 15 minutes.
And that's the other thing, you look at these other counties, we are open way more than the others are. You know, if we need only be open, you know, 5 days a week or 4 days, you know, and not be open on a Thursday or something. There's another option if that makes sense.
So do you have any numbers on how many tons of volume haulers haul compared to the others?
Yes, I don't have it here with me, but yeah, we have all that.
But I mean. Looks like you're only making $4 a ton or something, not making, but
Yep,
paying.
that's all we're gaining.
Right.
Yep. And the other thing is, I did not realize that this dollar surcharge was added on there. And I got $4, remember, for them trailers. I counted that as being in with the trash. And when December came and went, and then I got the January bill, it was still there. So I called and says, hey, you owe us a refund. He goes, no, that's a hit in this other bill we've been sending you with the fuel surcharge. So I was counting on that $4 a ton to go away in December. And it didn't.
But it's,
Well, it should, I mean, I thought it was going to 2, 'cause that was for those trailers.
Right, and it was, but he says, no, that's not including the price of trash. That's on this fuel surcharge bill that we've been sending you. So it was lumped in with that one that I never caught. It's in the fine print. You know, I thought it was fuel surcharge. But no, it was that and the trailer charge.
So the fuel surcharge should be going down. Did it go down?
It's just, I don't know, the way that contract's written. Can't tell you, we're kind of at their mercy. They send us a bill.
what kind of flexibility do we have as a landfill, as a county? You know, here, do we can set our own rules there as far as what we take in, what we charge?
Okay, as far as we can limit what we take in, there's certain things we can't take. We can't take liquids, for example. But
Sure, I'm sorry, I meant out of county, in county. I mean, what
Yes,
can we can
that's-
set our own hours. We don't have to be open every day.
That's right.
We could. How is overtime figured? Is that on a per day basis or is that per week?
It's in the 40 hour period each week.
So if we went to like a 4-day work week, then we could get rid of the overtime because. I mean, is that right? But then,
Yes.
then we're cutting part-time everybody's hours and. You got a lot of, we got a lot of talk, we're gonna be seeing a lot of you.
Well, and I'll tell you, I wanted to be in retirement and never see you guys and just do my job, and be left alone, you know,
Sure.
and look at what I'm doing. I'm stirring up a hornet's
No,
nest.
we like it when you come in.
I'm sorry about that, but I want to do things right. Okay, so my intention today was bring this problem to you, so you know that it's here, and I'm gonna work on it, and if you guys got ideas, I'd appreciate it.
Questions? You said hams are getting out of the hauling business. Are they getting out of the trailer business or just the hauling business?
And it's not done yet, it's just what I'm hearing. What they're planning to do is hire private contractors like Nick Smith to do the hauling for them. So that they have 20 contractors and they can just say, hey, we need you to, go over here and pick up load, and you go pick up load. And if they've got any of those private contractors left, they'll send them to us.
So they're not talking about the spending the trailers. So,
Disbanding, is that what you said?
yeah,
No.
what I'm saying is, we aren't looking at buying.
No,
That's why I thought.
okay, oh, no,
Are there other options to go with our trash? Are there other
the only other one that I was told of was Waste Management, and they are going the opposite direction and getting out of the business in this area.
Waste management should be.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Neighborhood shuts down.
No
Yep.
kidding.
Yeah. Finished. But we have to do something, and I will be here Monday with
With some
my
ideas.
options.
All right.
Okay. Anything else on the landfill part? Cause I'm not done.
You guys know?
I just. In the past, you've said, the C and D. Made up some of the deficits. I think they should be paying at least. We shouldn't be counting on them, but that should be, maybe that's where some of the things to be, because they should be profitable. I mean,
I agree.
we shouldn't be
It's gonna have to go up. We don't have choice.
using anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that.
Yes. All right, next, I would like to ask for an executive session for non-elected personnel. Which is me. And I would like for the three of you and Sheriff Merchant. And 15 minutes.
All right.
We go into executive session for 15 minutes with the three commissioners, Don and the sheriff. For non-elected personnel.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Hey, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 15 minutes. We're out of executive session back into regular, no binding action taken. However, we will ask for another 10 minutes for executive session to discuss personnel matters and non-elected personnel with people here would be 3 commissioners, Dawn and Sheriff Merchant. So 10 more minutes. That's what I make motion. It's been seconded. Moved and seconded to go back in executive session for 10 minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
10 more minutes. Thank you. Okay, all right. All right, we're out of executive session, back into regular, no binding action taken, and we're not going back in. Okay. We're in good shape. Anything else?
That's it.
Do you have anything for us while you're here?
It's a busy week, that wind on there. Friday, we had a semi blow around on 75 and highway patrol worked it.
I'm back.
There's power lines across the road. I think is it tomorrow evening, there's another clipper coming through. We could get rain, snow mix or whatever, and some high winds and
Okay.
everything else. So, all emergency folks that showed up, our emergency responders and everything, did a wonderful job. So,
And this,
Yeah,
would this
do
be a
it
good
fast.
time? I know the sheriff's department, we call you to get the burn permit.
yes,
It goes through the National Weather Service. I learned all about this. You and Dallas made some changes on the website to a burn permit, quick button essentially to go to that National Weather Service. Do you want to tell anybody what you did there or?
I need to look, is that going to be, do you like the changes that were made?
There's two ways to get to the same spot now, the permits thing. It
Uh-huh.
makes good sense.
Okay, good.
And essentially it leads you to Brown County and it says the fire risk is high. Like yesterday, no wind.
Right.
But the fire risk was high, I assume,
Right.
because today's wind. So people will know that you can call the sheriff's department for a permit, but they're going to say no.
right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I've had a lot of calls on this stuff over the. No, nothing against anybody here, so I'm just telling you what the public, the farmers. I'm saying there's some days when there wasn't much wind, it would have been ideal to burn. And then call me and they're concerned why we're not allowing it. And I said, we're going through the proper channels. The state has I think the state calls it a fire index. And they're following the state's fire index. And I'm wondering why they can't do it on a case by case basis when the days are like a no wind day, when the fire index is high. A lot of these folks have burned before, and I said, look, guys, I can't grant it. It's a kind of a commission thing, not passing a buck on you guys, but that's kind of the way it is. So, just so you know, I'm just gonna have them visit with you. If they've got concerns, they need to visit with you guys, and because you're gonna have to be the one to change protocol.
Sure.
It's actually a resolution.
Gotcha.
So it is, like a statute.
Right.
It's in writing. There's no variation in it. Said it meets these criteria or you don't get one.
Unless they change the protocol.
Unless they change the
That's what I'm
resolution.
getting at, because.
So we addressed that 2 or 3 years ago, right? And something like
Yes.
that, didn't we?
I've been addressing it since I came on 6 years. ago.
But I want to make sure
Comes up out
tell
every
them
day.
people right,
Did you
because I can't change it, you can't change it, it has to be commissioners, so. they have
Some people
concerns.
wanted the fire chiefs to make a decision in the area. Some people wanted
Right,
to do this. Some people wanted the sheriff to make the choice, but one way or another, somebody's not gonna like it because the minute one gets out of hand, well, why did you let it burn?
well, the whole reason it started was, remember, the fire chiefs ran pillar post. Because we were allowed burning, and they had their departments out all the time, and that's why they kind of endorsed this. So, I don't know if there's any right or wrong way, but I know some of our staff gets kind of
Sure.
abused a little when they can't burn when they're supposed to, and they get blamed for it and everything else, but I don't know how we're gonna fix it, I guess is what I'm saying, but the resolution will either have to be changed or stuck to. And, that's something,
So-
so the more we're getting into the burning season, the more calls.
I got a question on it from
Sure.
our fire chief about how it's established. He thought this body did it right here. We
Through
made the
resolution.
decision through resident, we did. They didn't understand where the information came, come through the National Weather Service. So that's
Right.
why I called
Through Dawn
and asked.
right,
All right, so the National Weather Service obviously has some sort of look ahead because they shut burning down last week on 2 beautiful days, but they had the understanding that the nasty,
but they look at
Friday.
it through the state eyes, they don't look at it through Brown County eyes. They look at it as a state. If I.
But they go by county.
Oh,
By
they-
county,
Yeah,
yeah, by
they look
county.
at. the-
but it's set at 4 a.m.
Mhm.
They make the, and that lasts all day. So I imagine you were getting some questions
Right.
but it makes sense. It makes sense. So,
But they can tell that wind's gonna come up at 3 in the
Right.
afternoon, and that's a danger.
so there's a part in that description where it says rangeland fire index is high today, and in the afternoon. And if you're gonna burn, it says that you need to do it in the early morning or the late evening hour. So there's descriptions a
There's a
little,
caveat.
it seems like. So it's a little loose.
I'm going by, it says the index
Right.
is this and that's.
But if you read that,
Yeah.
put my
I
farmer,
agree.
that's what it said. And then when you're standing out there and the wind's not blowing,
Well, I can understand if you would have burned a big brush pile that one morning, then we had 50-mile-an-hour winds that evening.
Yeah.
We'd have had, because I think, didn't they have one wrench that
There was two that ran.
rekindled?
Yeah, rekindled.
Well, kind of depends on what you're burning.
It is true. Yeah, grass and stuff, you're not gonna have that.
Right.
But a big brush pile, you could have wood sparks.
yeah, they do reignite. Ask me how I know, so.
Well, I wanted to burn too, and I didn't burn, so you know.
Yeah.
See, the fire chiefs were given the option, you know, when we talked last time, they would take into consideration, here's what you burn, it's grass or it's a brush pile. Okay? But the bottom line came down to it, no, they want to keep it the way it is. So, out of safety.
Well, what you did makes it easier to access on the website and they're gonna call anyway. And, you know, we burned, and I'll get the dates wrong. I think I got my permit on Wednesday. And I had the dozer up there, we were pushing piles to get them to burn and they would reignite. And I think it was Thursday night. I had a deputy, I mean, I was in the middle of nowhere out there and he saw it and he come up and he said, you know, you can't burn. Well, you know, this is a 2-day-old fire, but so they are watching. He was real nice about it, but anyway, it's not a bad program. And I understand why the fire chiefs, why they want it, because if you have 15 different fires, you know, we only have so many resources.
And they were getting that, it was getting out of hand.
Yeah.
I mean, they really, the fire chiefs were begging to have something for the place.
So this last week we had, they were almost every fire department in the county was out at one time, at the same time. Working.
Yeah.
Different fires, power lines, you name it, almost every single entity. was on
There
this
again,
line.
these folks, they get paid $10 a run or whatever, so they're very valuable to us.
Sure.
So we sure don't want to abuse them. It's hard enough to find volunteers, so sure we have them, we'll look for them. Do everything we can to keep them happy.
That's just another education helps people because if you're taking heat or your dispatcher's taking heat, you know, it's not the sheriff's office call. They're reading off the National Weather Service. You're just giving them,
Set by
don't
protocol.
don't get the messenger. Okay. Excellent.
Okay, that's all I have.
And you two are working together on this April 22nd, the
Yes.
computer training.
Whatever you need.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anything
thank
else?
you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good day.
There. Thank you.
Can we go on, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay, well. We're just gonna move on to the first item on our agenda, actually, is the minutes from the 10th. March 10th.
Okay.
Do you guys see any additions or corrections to the minutes? We'll just look at them here while they're talking.
I think we're good. I would look at it, but.
Thanks for coming in, guys. Okay, so we just moved on to our first agenda item, which is the minutes. And looked at them. Is there any additions or corrections?
I move we approve the 3/10/2025 minutes.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. All right, we'll go to item number 2, which is a letter of support from the baseball and softball club.
That's what you have it over there printed out for us. Okay.
Oh, right on. Okay.
So they're just asking us to put in a support for a T-Mobile hometown grant to help them secure a grant to finish something at the facility.
Any questions on that? Is this something we want to support?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. Okay, we'll make a motion.
I move we sign the letter of support for the T-Mobile hometown grant program review for the review committee for the baseball project here in Hiawatha.
Okay, all seconded. Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carried. Okay. Okay, we'll skip that. We'll go, and item number 4 is the tax change orders, just to look at them and approve and say on while we're online here, that this is an important part of really our citizens' responsibility here, their duties to make sure that the appraised value is accurate. That's what the appraiser does. And if there's a complaint, they don't think it's right, need to make that phone call and get that done by the 20th of March here, because they are making some adjustments, and some of them are fairly significant. And there's 43 of them on here now, so.
That's the most I've had.
Yeah, that's a lot of signatures. I should have got on that. Anyway, so. Guess we just approve those, right? Any questions on that? Just sign them and go on. Okay, and the last one is item number 5 here is a complaint about a homeowner here in Hiawatha with an overgrown property, and we're just
That's actually in the county. So
in the county.
with their zoning. I don't know if it takes into consideration
Like a nuisance complaint.
I don't know if it's, since it's outside the city limits, I don't know if it's a nuisance on the building falls in the same as it would be inside the city limits.
I mean, that's a good question.
I asked them, I thought we had asked her that when she was here, and I don't know that they have any control over that part of it, but also know you have to have permits out and within the 3 miles to build.
So when she was here, there was 2 incidents that she talked. One was just south of town with some junk, I guess, along the side of the road. Yes, the same situation. This is different.
This is one of the incidents.
This is the other one?
It was
I'm
on the
thinking-
paper.
I'm thinking the one
This
that was
is
south.
one's east, and this was on the paper.
Okay. Okay,
Yep, there's,
I got it. Looked at it. That is a good question. How do we get the answer to that? Fine. I'd be wondering.
So. So it's still up to the. I mean, I don't oppose notifying people that we'd like to come up, but then that's why it's for it.
I think as far as we go, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
So. And the letters, it's friendly. But fine. Okay, so is Tam. All right, I move we go into executive session to discuss personnel matters, non-elected. For 5 minutes with the 3 commissioners and the county clerk.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5 minutes. All right, we're out of executive session, back into regular, no binding action taken. Put it in my report here. Is Tammy, is she coming? Okay. Okay, so. Where does the time go? Huh? Hi.
So I'm getting ready to send out the letter to the cities and the tribes about chip and seal. And I wanted to discuss the rock prices. Those are currently the prices for everything that we charge. We just charge what we are charged for the oil. And the rock is supposed to take into consideration the manpower and the fuel and the truck to haul it.
Okay.
So we currently, our prices on rock have gone up, so we get charged anywhere from 24.72 to 26. Well, actually, mid-states charges, I believe it's 27.98 a ton. So that doesn't give much room if we're only charging $35 a ton. Because John said to haul 40 tons of rock, it takes 50 gallons of diesel, 8 hours time. And I put something else in my email. I didn't print that one.
56 gallons of diesel, 8 hours in time, and a current price of $2.76 a gallon.
Right. Yes. So I didn't know if you wanted to increase it or leave it the same. I think our rate for the labor, the 900 an hour, I think that's pretty good. Because the only cities that get charged that are Hiawatha and Horton.
They've increased their labor rates.
Huh?
We have increased the pay for this labor bill
We did a couple of years ago.
this last year. I mean, what we're paying, we just increased it last year.
I know, but it still is,
So you think it covers it?
yeah.
So do you have suggestions on? Did anyone make a suggestion on what they think it should be? No, okay. And so the price in the rate, $900 per hour, that's actually the application. So when they're
Right.
so that
correct.
that accounts for all that, and that
Correct.
was adjusted recently.
A year or two ago.
Okay, so you're thinking because the rock cost at
Have-
20,
Yeah, they've gone up. It's gone up in the 4 years I've been here. It's, I believe when I started, we were only paying 18-ish per ton. So it's increased pretty good.
and so the 40 tons of rock takes 56 gallon of diesel and 8 hours of time. That's just to get it from the quarry to the pile.
Right,
And so when they go to the cities, now we're taking it from the pile back to the city.
correct.
And so we need more spread there to account for the expenses.
Well, I figured it's easy numbers at 276 times 66, that was 154 plus cents. And $5 an hour for the labor, which is cheap because you didn't figure in all the benefits that
Right.
cost. That came up to $354. And you divide that by 42.5 or something, I came up with it. 834 or something. On top of the price of the rock. Which comes up, after I use $28 for the rock, that was 36.34 or something. But that doesn't cover any cost for the tires. Going around the trucks and we got into that.
Yeah, and that just gets it to the pot, right?
Right.
Yeah. So according to Bill's calculations, we're $1 behind already. At
Right.
35, so. I guess I'd look to you guys and everybody for guidance on what do we think? What is a reasonable? And we don't just be higher, we don't want to go down or at a loss, what is a reasonable amount? It's a tough one.
I know we're gonna be doing the city of Hiawatha, but we told them that we didn't have time to haul their rock this year and asked them to haul their own, so. Because we were running out of time and
Okay,
they had a truck and.
And they're gonna, yeah, and
They're supposed to be hauling.
John's gonna have to start hot patching pretty soon. To
So we
get
asked them
ready.
to haul their own, so.
So any of it, well, but you're not search. But the city, little cities want something done, that's the part of the. I didn't read your area, but that's what you say here.
Right,
do we do like a per mile freight charge? We do it that
No.
way? No, it's just gotta be in the price of the.
right. Because we only charge the. Last two, is that what they're called, last two cities? The labor. The little ones we don't. And I do know that Powhatan wants us to do. Either the north or south or east and west roads, I can't remember. I've got a sticky note on my desk.
Okay. Do you want us to come up with this number today? Do we need this change today?
I need it. It can wait another week.
Well, just if we just shoot from the hip and just tried to guess this, what's that's what gets it to our, pile. What'd you figure, $36? So the
But-
count,
But that didn't, well, that was just kind of a memory for the labor.
that didn't factor in all employee benefits, so it probably needs to be 38 or a little higher, 39. So even if we raise the price to $40 an hour, that doesn't, or $40 per ton, I'm sorry, that doesn't account for.
10% increase is 3.5, so it's a 38.50. That's the 10% on the, to get you up to 38.50. I mean, I'm just saying what 10% increase on that would be.
Right. But that still doesn't cover the cost of getting the washed chips from the quarry just to the pot. So if you're gonna try to do this and at least cover your costs, we've got to be around $40 per ton, I would say. But then again, you gotta factor in getting it from the pile back to the city. $45 a ton, that's a pretty significant. That'd be a pretty significant increase. I'm just talking out loud here.
No, that's fine.
I thought so, just only $40.
You think 40?
That includes, cause you get a literature on your. That's the biggest, I mean, it's like 5 tires and all that kind of stuff. for that trucks.
But you were at 36
Yeah,
before that.
it's not $40 barely covers the.
Right,
expense,
that would
barely
probably-
covers
Be the close to the minimum.
Just one way, so. So what is the policy? The county working with the cities, we all want to work together, but I mean. As a county, we try not to absorb city costs, right?
Correct.
So we need to set this where we're not charging an exorbitant rate, but we're also not losing money.
Right, because we're not trying to make money.
Okay, so we need to figure out.
We
what-
just need to cover our
Cover our
expenses.
bases, so we gotta figure, so that number is probably gonna fall somewhere closer to $45. The time we cover our bases, because it'll take them. Yeah, it takes time and money to get that rock from the pile to the city.
By the way, somewhere we had you had a cost for hauling. Last year or sometime, Capital Trucking hauled it for
Oh, yeah.
$9 a ton or something. And other companies had a price. But you had, but that number, added on to the cost of the rock.
But you don't, I understood that. You don't want to do a hauling charge. You want to put it in the price of the rock.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
So, but I guess what I'm saying is that's another source of finding out what it costs to haul.
I can look that up.
Oh, you may just have a source their own.
Well, no.
No, he's talking about to get a cost.
So a capital was charging
Capital City.
$20 a ton to haul it. Then that was what
We would just put $20
on top of the cost of the rock.
How many tons of rock? Just pick on one city and whoever, how many tons do they actually use?
It goes by the amount of oil they use.
Okay,
So one tanker of oil is 5,000-ish gallons.
Uh-huh.
And you take that times 0.033,
okay.
and that's how much rock they would need.
That's how many tons of rock.
Yes,
Well, that's usually.
Big number of gallons times
0.033.
1,550. 1,650. Times a gallon.
166.
65. So for every tanker load, it takes 165 tons of rock. So, and a tanker load and how many miles?
1 mile.
That goes 1 mile.
Mhm.
Okay, so a city, I mean, miles add up quick, I guess. Do you do 5 miles a year?
So like your small, not like Powhatan, I think it'll be less than 2 miles.
So if we went times 2, then we put it-
For the city?
2 miles from the city. City, I got 2 miles of road in.
is that too long?
That's what I know. That
she's
was
guessing.
high.
She's guessing, but if Powhatan happened to use that, that would be.
That was
three-
high, yes.
That'd be 330 tons of rock times 20, that's $6,600, just that, that's what that would cost.
I was gonna say 1 mile, but
Well, around 1 block is a quarter mile. So 4 blocks is a quarter mile.
Well, how about this? How about, since we've done some math here, why don't we just say $20 per ton is not unreasonable? I mean, can we just say we're thinking about $20 a ton? Is that unreasonable?
to haul it,
Yeah.
just a hauling charge
Or
to add,
Add it to the price.
yeah, they add, if we're just trying to cover our bases, we feel like we really need some help here. $10 isn't enough.
I was gonna say $50, go to $50 a ton.
Okay,
That was just kind of taking some of the FEMA rates
uh-huh,
into account. Because that's the only thing I really have to put a dollar amount like to the equipment for hauling.
well, that's the happy medium then. Well, I'd make a motion then that we do that. Oh,
Let's wait a minute.
so,
So we don't. How are the hauls on rock? Right?
Well, they are this year, but it doesn't happen every year.
Yeah, I was gonna
We've
say,
always hauled it back,
right,
but Don just said that we didn't have time and asked them to get
it's
the road.
the city of Hiawassee.
So, what? Still, we're gonna have to load it up.
so we charge them, that's supposed to be in the $900 an hour.
All right.
That's what the 900 an hour is for, is the equipment, the employees, the
Okay.
hauling.
Okay, well, I would still, is there more discussion on it? No. I mean, I think that math works out, the suggestion to raise the rock per ton price to $50. And I would make that, I would make that motion. Is there a second? That's all right. Motion dies for lack of a second then. Is there any other ideas?
I'll second it. We've been at 35 for. I mean, quite a few years, so.
We raised it the same time we raised the labor rate,
And again,
which I think was 2 years.
so
ago.
discussion, I
Sorry.
mean, it's to my understanding that we're not making any money on this. We're just
Right.
trying to cover our costs.
Right.
And we have to cover our costs and we just, I mean, we have to pass it on. So
And so you don't charge, you're saying don't charge us little cities the rate, the $900 an hour?
That's what I was told back in 2021, so.
okay. Well, there's no, I rescinded it, so there's no motion on the table. You want me to? I'll do it again. Okay, I'll make the motion that we raise the rock to $50 per ton, which would be an increase of $15 per ton. Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, anything else?
I got notification from KDOT that we're supposed to be getting some money back from OS 226 that we did back in 2020.
That was. That's pretty well.
And it was in Bill's district, I believe.
For the year 2020?
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know.
Acorn Road, 1 mile east and 2.6 miles north of Wetmore.
Yeah, that was a big, county line.
Yeah. So we're supposed to be getting about $1,267 back.
we'll take it.
Takes them a while to do their math, I guess, so
Yeah, that's. a
we'll
long
be getting
time ago.
that back. I have requested numbers from Berwick and Ag Partners for contracting the fuel to see if that's something that we're interested in. So at some point I'll be bringing that in.
Okay.
And Hall Brothers wrote a letter to Brady about decreasing the asphalt thickness from 3 inches to 2 inches. And they feel like, I think they're trying to make sure that if the road fails, they don't want it to be on them because they're only putting the 2 inches.
We're changing the recommendations from 3 to 2, that the road failure, it's not going to be like that. Their recommendations for you. I believe that's what they're trying to state.
Didn't I send that to you from Brady?
It's Brady.
Because Brady sent me all of this
When
beginning of March. Well, he would have sent it probably the next week. Well, I've got my heater on.
So when I spoke to Brady about that road, we know there'll be the road won't last as long as they're in this asphalt, but he didn't act like structurally it was a big deal. Is that,
Right,
is this just one of those letters to cover their,
yes,
okay,
that's precisely what. And that was kind of how Brady felt about it too.
Had you read that? Have you seen it?
I hadn't read it, I was just
Okay.
informed about it.
No, I didn't,
I thought I sent it. And I sent that to you.
Family heard about it this morning, we were talking to Tammy too. Okay, if you bring it this morning, give me just kind of a brief overview of it. I haven't read it.
all right. Says that it potentially might not be as smooth because in one fill, they don't address they can't address all the leveling. I mean, that's part of it. But that saved us $280,000, give or take.
Right. But will it not be level before they even put the asphalt on it?
Will not be perfectly level because the reclaim project is not a smooth finish. The reclamation
They don't go back and level it before they put the asphalt on it?
will be a level to a certain point, but if they're going along, they're grinding up and laying dirt back down. The reclamation, so it's not gonna be
Right.
perfectly level, but what they're saying is. They did the 1 inch on there to make sure the road is that grade before they put the 2 inch. It's just like. With the project I'm thinking about here on Prairie. They're gonna put 3 inches on because the first one is just to bring the road back up to where it should be level all the way across. Or they add the top 2 inches on top.
And is that Brady's response?
That's, yeah, the emails
Okay.
from and to Brady from Hall Brothers.
All right.
Great response.
Did Hall Brothers have any comments that we didn't do that intersection? Add on?
The
apron?
apron.
Yeah. No, they don't. say
I
anything
don't
about
believe
that.
so.
Okay.
I haven't heard that from Brady. But they had,
That was an extra thing anyway, right? It's been separate. Which,
it was listed separate.
Yeah, I just didn't know since it was listed separate, what happens when you do ones and not the others, I guess. If they had any comment.
No,
I was just feeling empty. It's so quiet in here. I wanted to talk. This is nothing. All right, so. So what is the plan of action then? This is, they've sent a letter. Brady's been involved. Do we need to talk to him then, reach out to him, see what he says, or is it just
this was really just for information.
information? Okay.
Mhm.
so was the price? The question is, and also is, are they gonna reduce the price by a third? I mean,
I have not heard another estimate yet.
and on your point, Rich, if they put a 1 inch on there to level it off. What, if that's not. How's that gonna help them get the next one level? I mean, if that doesn't come out level, then how the next one will come out level?
That's what they're saying, is that the 1 inch is used to make sure that they're starting out with a true surface to put the 2 inches on.
Well, but then it talked about, in a way, I mean, if the grade is the same all the way, the 1 inch is gonna, I don't see how that affects that.
You know, I'm not a professional doing, I'm just.
But when you run your layout machine on her, it's gonna go on what on the ground. And so the next layer is gonna go on top of that too. It looks like a
Well, I would say that their first layer, you know, they're saying to put an inch down, there might be areas where it's gonna be an inch, there might be an area, it might be an inch and a quarter, it might be 3/4.
Right,
To make it to the grade they wanted. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that, but then you say 2 inches, it might be an inch and a half, or it might be 2 and a half.
The same principle, right? Unless it does the base layer, would it go down first and then solidify a little bit and then they come over it? Does that have something to do with it?
Well,
I don't know. Okay.
I know, so they just said the same principle for overlaying, because our subsurface is good out there, but smooth the road out and take out all the imperfections in the road, the first one would be laid down. To make sure that everything was level for the 2 inches.
Yeah.
Well, so Brady kind of addresses that when he talks about when they're doing the reclamation. But they need to make sure, yes, they're ready, right? It's doing this.
For sure it's gonna be as close as they can get it without having to. You know. I don't think it'll be smoothed off, smooth unless it's. If we're gonna chip and seal over. We probably something a little bit different if we were on chip and seal versus. I don't know what the requirements are. I can't answer baseball. You know, you reclaimed road out there, it wasn't, you know, you had to work it into level to where you wanted it, so.
Make sure those are better.
It's a big project, a lot of money. Do we ever hear from the engineer from Brady? Does he ever call into a meeting?
We can call him at any time.
Should we ask him? What do you think? Maybe don't have to do it today, I guess, maybe get on the schedule for next. Just to visit with him. If we have questions.
So what his thing didn't sound like it was that big. I mean, he's the one to do that in the first place.
He said it was an option, but we do, you made up a good point. We need a confirmation that what we think the cost was going to be is actually, you to make sure that asphalt deduction, you know, it is.
It doesn't amount to that.
Yeah. Would he be involved in that, or does that just go through your office? As far as what the final bill is going to be?
I would assume because Brady's in contact with Hall Brothers and Kings. I would assume that he would have something to.
Well, it's a question, he said something about being in the checking with the city and see what they were doing, what was it?
Checking with Samantha.
Yeah.
I did get some specs from them, but they didn't send me the bid tabulations.
What was Brady asking about? I forget.
He just wanted to know. He said he was curious about the specs and the bid tabulations for Kansas Road and 14th Street project that they just awarded to Kings.
What again would we expect the projected start time again? I'm sorry.
You guys
I just wanna-
ask these questions when I don't have everything.
With the bottom deadline, we haven't put in the change order yet, I think. Yeah,
Brady has.
Okay, he put it in, okay, I wanted to make sure. 'cause I hadn't
He,
seen
it's in
anything
his
about it.
email here. It's he says,
Oh, we had to submit something.
So
for
with
that.
no,
Okay,
Brady's doing it.
okay.
He did it.
Kings is doing a project in Sabetha too, which makes me wonder, you know, there's a mobilization charge on there.
Doesn't matter.
And Brady said it doesn't matter because he said that they probably bid that with the expectation that they were gonna be in Sabetha.
So did that make the Sabetha bid more competitive then? I just wonder how this stuff works.
Yeah,
Yes,
I don't know.
we need to tie projects in like that because there's significant savings.
Right, you know, I think it, everything would be taxpayers.
Well,
No, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have to do it.
I do
Yeah,
think
you're right, I mean, it looks like.
That's the only thing I was. getting at.
May,
yeah. We couldn't get it. Yeah, I have it in there somewhere, so okay.
It was. About, as soon as it's gotta be so warm for them to do it, and about as early as they could do it, like in April or.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
into April, early May.
So do you have everything you need from us to proceed? Or you
Yes.
showed us that and.
Yep,
and-
I
and
just
we
needed to
changed the
show you
rock.
that, got the rock price.
And if Brady, are you in contact with him on a fairly regular basis? Okay, would you, if he has something he thinks we should know about, maybe extend the invitation if he wants to, email us or call in.
Okay,
'Cause and we'd sure like to know on the asphalt,
From that price,
confirm that, yeah, confirm our
expectations, that it's gonna save them, what, $260,000 off that. What they're doing.
Yeah, is there a way to do that?
I can ask.
All right. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you coming in. All right. Anything else needs to come before?
I have one quick one.
Okay,
An employee, I mean, this is not, an employee asked about the use. Sheriff employee asked about the use of the basement for a graduation, something for graduation, I don't know if that's viable or not, or. Do we ever, let anybody use the basement, the sheriff's office basement,
okay.
for a graduation party for the employees in the sheriff's department? I just didn't know if it was.
So it was like a graduation from the law enforcement
No,
school.
it's a high school graduation.
Okay, so it's a kind of a private thing.
But wanted to know, it's never been done like that before, but, using it for something like that, that's why the question came up to. Is that something that can or cannot happen? I mean, we have proper use agreements for the courthouse and even inside the courthouse, but is it,
So an employee of the sheriff's department
that's a, for a kid
has a
graduating.
graduated from somewhere and they'd like to use the sheriff's office basement
For the reception.
for the reception. Okay. Well, that's a new one.
Yep.
Do we have any policy? I mean, you're saying we probably don't. Not at all. Does the sheriff's department have a policy?
No, I think that's what they're asking.
We're
I think,
under
I
our
think he
authority?
was, sheriff would be okay with it, but yet didn't know if it was okay with the commission because it was a county building, but they've never done it before.
What do you think?
Charge or something like that, or is it just a community?
We don't charge for the use of the grounds here for, but I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
I,
How do
I
you,
guess that would be almost a K count question too, because that's a little bit different than how we use the property here. Maybe it's the first place it started to ask them if they think that's viable, if that can happen. If they're gonna have to approve it there, but we use our property use agreement to people that.
The other thing that I'm going there, but there's kind of, I mean, people need a place to meet, so it's service.
It's just a kind of a different situation with it being a law enforcement building, but I didn't know.
could we get permission based on the sheriff's approval? I mean, they could go through his office and he thinks it's all right for an employee. Sure. Sure.
So if the sheriff don't sign off on it, and it comes to us, and we're not recommending it, so we would.
So is there a door into there from the outside? Directly in there, we gotta go downstairs.
You gotta go down the steps.
Move the lobby there, down the stairs. I've never been in the basement.
I've been there, but I didn't know if there was a exit to that west or not.
Yeah, there is one to the west. That's where they have they can come up and use the restrooms at the top of the step there, but they can't get anywhere else in the building, just to the restroom.
Yeah.
On the west end. But that one will remain locked unless somebody lets somebody on that door.
Well, so when they do the food, kind of food in the summer, where does that come from? How do people get the food in summer?
Well, they're doing it outside. They haven't been doing it outside.
They take it all outside.
Yep. All been moved out.
What, so there's 100 different reasons we can and 100 different reasons we can't. If the sheriff, I wish we'd asked him, we had him here, I didn't know that.
Well, he texted, said he forgot.
Forgot.
And that's why I
So if
brought
we
it.
have a property use agreement that covers shields the county from any liability, we're always worried about liability, is that right? So, and the sheriff, I mean, if we would approve it. I guess I would be more comfortable that I wouldn't want the sheriff's department basement. I don't want that coming through here. I'd sure want him to approve it first. Is that right?
I guess when we make a property use agreement that includes the. Cause it's pretty directed to the courthouse.
Property use agreements for town property or town building.
Okay. And we.
It's a sheriff's employee, that's one.
Yeah.
And that makes some difference.
I would think it would, yeah.
Is there where we could put a line item on there for the sheriff's building down there that is approval, ultimate approval? We really gotta have. Well, it's just, you don't know. I mean, it's not,
You get one cent.
yeah,
Well, is there a reason we wouldn't? I'm thinking, and we'll spend a lot of time on this, but I'm thinking. If an employee of the sheriff's department wanted to use that, that's sort of a special case, but can we not restrict it to just employees of the sheriff's department? I mean, it might be a nice little employee benefit if the sheriff approved and they work there anyway. Could we say,
or is it a,
you have to open it up to the world?
or does it say, okay. It's a special, I think the law enforcement is different than just this building up here. It could be opened up to just employees of the county and not the community. You know, I'd hate to say we only let the sheriff's department employees use it, it's that fair, to say that they're the only ones that could use it.
Well,
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Both sides of it,
Yeah.
It's not the sheriff's building, it's a people's
it's a
building.
public building, right? But it is, there are criminals that are,
Right.
want some restrictions on it for sure. That, anything we do would cause a problem, but I would like to.
For anybody, any.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would cover it. If somebody put in one and John says, fine. Says no, yeah, there's reasons, it's just, he does his building, and
And that's,
we'd honor that.
we don't put him in the hot seat anymore, do we?
No.
Yeah.
That gives him control over it.
I think
That
we should.
keeps us from saying, oh yeah, you can use it, they'll tell the sheriff.
Okay, is that something that can be done fairly easy? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Call him.
There you go. Teamwork. All right, anything else?
Yeah. So. The lean-to that blew away a couple years ago over at Fairview. The tin's still laying over there. There's a person that is interested in it. Is there any problem selling that to them?
That's just the reframe tin off the building when
Yeah.
if it was all loose. It's all over.
Yeah, so
Is there a process that you have to go through, or you just need?
I went to just asked this morning and there's nothing, we can sell that concept. We sell tubes and stuff. And we sold it to the gun guy. We take, sell that. So is it any different? Or do we have to take bids for it, or is it just whatever?
What's the quantity? A lot of it,
They said 20 sheep or so.
but galvanized, just real galvanized tin.
I mean, we've already been paid for it. I mean, it's just, now it's strapped to us sitting there unless we're gonna put it back on something. Right. Galvanized, not gonna get you much.
Yeah, it wouldn't weigh much. Does Doug know about it?
He's what asked about
He asked about it. And it'll come under a certain dollar figure, right? But I mean, in there,
it. Yeah, well, he didn't know what to ask for either, exactly, but $30 a sheep, but I don't know if that's reasonable or not.
Yeah. And if it's got some rust, got rust on it, people buy it to remodel and put in kitchen and stuff for the rusty look.
the county will never use it.
So,
That's right.
We need to advertise it, or we need to.
I can't think you need to advertise it. If it's 20 sheets, even if it's $10 a sheet, $200. Show the policy. Yeah. Never had it, never had that.
It's been sitting there for, what, probably at least
well,
2
let's put it
years.
this way, we did sell. Or used bridge planks down there to somebody, got a price on that, and then they never paid for them and we made them bring them back. So we have sold. We did sell some of our bridge planks before, so that would kind of fall under this, my thing, that's recovered lumber on bridges that we took out. Because
Sometimes they sell.
the bridge planks are I-beam, so we did that on one. That's the price on.
So they do that sometimes, but I don't know how they
We
did it.
could ask John how that went, but we did that once and.
For the flyers. The one experiment.
Oh, I would just.
I-
Just get ask Kevin quick, but I don't think it's no different than the bridge. The angle iron that we sold before, I mean, the iron down here,
Sure.
you know, I-beams and stuff, we just came up with. a
It's not like
price.
he's selling a forklift, or something, but
No.
it's just used tin. I mean, my.
Nothing is on our property.
My inclination would be to have him come up with the value and work it out. You know, and it's out of his hair, money, you know, and just put the money in the proper account and we don't go along. I mean, can we do that by consensus or do we need to talk to the attorney? Okay, let's go with it.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
It wouldn't be the government though if we didn't talk about it for some reason. All right, anything else? Bumping up on.
Well,
Doing that.
yeah.
Believe that. Do you have anything? The only thing I have is talk to, the Goldfinch Road. I talked to, Kyle Knudsen. About that. He's the owner of the Bowman roller that we bought. He described that thing. Sounds like it's a good machine. He also, was curious. That's sort of in their wheelhouse. That's what they do. His shoulder work. And so I didn't know that. And do we have a list of, contractor, vendors, whatever, in the county, local people that do jobs like that? So when we're reaching out with questions, that we could say, hey, I didn't know he did that, but he said, we're kind of well known for, his company's well known for the work.
Let's see, 'cause that's the same thing that haulers reached out to
Sure.
me, want to know about if they could bid on it. So you're already wanting people to know if there's gonna be a bid process on it too.
Well, there's local expertise. We had a lot of questions about that. And I guess I didn't understand how they did that. So it worked. And I just wanted to get it in the record here that they do and you know, we should utilize that if we can. You know, local people. Yeah, yeah.
So then hauling the dirt. They're talking about hauling dirt from one side of the road to the other. Why can't the county do that too? We got an excavator and dump trucks.
Possibly can. Yeah. They were talking about using roll-off trailer. We don't have a roll-off trailer.
That's true.
But yeah, it was more, it's just a comment that there's a business in Hiawatha that does that line of work. I have zero idea that's what they did. I learned and I just wanted to share it with everybody.
I was kind of surprised that's what they did. I mean, we got two perfects going.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
They work all over. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Construction sites.
yeah, and he works with the state and he knew all about the bid board and all this stuff and asked me questions and so he's just a resource and, you know, we ought to use people like that. When they're we can.
I appreciate you working with us with that forward.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Okay, anything else?
I want to check into the propane, not propane, 70 bottles and stuff and see if there's a better way to do that.
Well, I'm gonna be satisfied with what we're doing. My guys get their service taken care of. So if you wanna change yours, you can change yours.
Yeah, check it out, see what you come up with, bring it up.
Which things have changed over the years on stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that's part of what Mr. Lloyd will do too, actually, look at things like that, so. Anything else?
So for the day.
All for today? Yeah, I got to be in pretty fast, so I'm done. Is there anything else coming from the board? One.
Anybody from the conference table?
That's the one I was asking about.
Where's it at?
Manhattan.
Is there an itinerary there?
That's, yeah,
If they did, I missed it.
that's where everybody, all, not, it's just not for the commissioners.
When did they send that?
Third or fifth of March.
When do they need to know? We want to hit right away. Okay, perfect.
John, my phone was over you and Ben, so I still didn't. Being part of that, or hearing what they're doing, being part of it's in our area, so. I think John and people want to potentially let him know when it is. So there's a workshop on Monday, if you attend the workshop. There's techniques for serving the county with excellence. So there's an early workshop that day on Monday. No, I'll go back to the, sorry, no, I was going back to the
Okay.
commissioner.
All right, well, I'll have to look and see what their schedule is.
So that, so I heard that back.
It's virtual, yeah.
Oh, it's virtual. Yeah.
Thursday, March.
Yeah, I know, I just didn't have it for me, I think I put it on my calendar. Let me see. The 20th.
I never was too much of a so.
Yeah, I'll, if you go, that's fine.
Yeah, somebody should go on. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Rich, that's right. That's perfect. Okay, thank you. All right, is there anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Second? Hey, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting adjourned. Now, we do have a workshop scheduled here,